Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe. We also wish to recognize our neighboring community of the Doki's First Nation. While we meet today, we'd like to take the moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? And none for myself. So let's get started with the committee recommendations. 3.1, recreation related grants.
Yes, since we were having a meeting, there's a few items up for discussion. I'll start off with the case Populi. So I was in contact with Stéphane Métat, the manager for the case Populi. It's been a few years since we have applied for a grant through the case. The last time we applied, it was for the meal program. We got turned down because it doesn't fit. They look for something physical, permanent. Perfect example is the clock. There's a plaque there. They contributed the total amount for the clock, so it was no cost to the municipality. Plaque is permanent. That's what they're looking for. So he wants to do his budget this year. He wants to come for a part of what we're going to probably hopefully get them to fund. He wants to come for a walk in the park, so I was hoping that if you're around, you can walk with him and then try to sell him. If it's a big project, the more we are, the better. If it's just a couple benches, I think where the pickleball court would go. So it could vary from a few $1,000s, $10,000. If it's a legacy project, something like the clock, you have to talk, but you could probably squeeze more money out of them. But you only get a few legacy projects. Like you won't go back next year or the next 4 or 5 years to get more money from them. So depending on what council wants to, or the committee wants to recommend, we have a grant. We have $40,000, and the breakdown, we did mark it down, and we need to go lay out sometime in the next few weeks or whenever the ground dries. Where we're going to locate the shelters. The shelters can vary from a pole and with a fabric umbrella to something of this nature, which is a well above the budget we have. So the original grant for $40,000, tables, benches, planters, garbage receptacle, $14,000. I think we can probably reduce that because as through CRCS, she has a cheaper, well, less expensive, not cheaper, less expensive. She doesn't have the tables on this one. Anyways, so we have $14,000 for that type of thing. The path is $13,000, so that was meant to a path leading up to the gazebo. And just to note that this grant is for older adults, seniors, to come and sit in the park in the shade. So the path has to be accessible. We can finish it with crusher dust. I was really hoping for paved or concrete, but I don't think with the prices currently that we can afford that. But if can, it'd be nice, but it'd be crusher dust leading to wherever we want to put the shelter. So the current shelter is located near the playground. We have plans to move the playground near the splash pad. So we have decided, I think it was going to do that general area. So we will have to peg it out. I would like the committee members and as many people to comment because once you start putting stuff down, it's hard to move afterwards. So the current shelter will hopefully try to salvage the current shelter where it is. We just have to remove the concrete and put some crusher dust because it's a hazard and it should be roped off as the concrete is cracked. It's a good way to your ankle. So the gazebo and shelter at 10,000, and at 10,000, I was, when I wrote this grant, maybe not thinking right. I just went to Costco, Amazon, those bigger type shelters. They may not be durable. The one they had for 3,000 at Costco, sorry, 3,000, $3,999, so $4,000. It seems like 4 wooden posts, but it's just a 10 by 10 or 10 by 14 shelter. Do we want to double up and ask the case to put in an extra 10, so we have 20,000? For $12,000 for a 30 by 25 hip and ridge shelter with a 10-inch eve canoe pricing, $12,000. So, but those are the type of shelters, they're not the super expensive one. And I know that, okay, so I've got prices from both CRCS and Sudbury, and ABC. They both have canoe pricing, so the best, unfortunately, and ABC's price was less. I think she basically had a shelter for the shelter with a steel post, and I thought I had a picture of it, but that was $7,000. And basically her thought was 2 of them with picnic tables underneath, and not technically gazebo, but just a picnic table with a little canopy over top. I'm not looking for final design, but I am looking for locate layout so we can prepare the soil. So hopefully the Public Works can excavate and prepare the base. And depending what we want, we may have to have screw in posts there.
Yeah,
Yeah, 480 piles, if we're putting that, if we're just putting the shelter, then you need a concrete base for that particular one. So those are our topics of discussion for this grant. Like I said, the path, I had a beautiful picture last time, very crude of layout, but if we start putting or walking it, so I was suggesting if we have time, or if you have time, we can put like a few posts to see the possible layouts, and then we can move from that. And then once we, if you can tell me if you're thinking of simple shelters, or if we're ambitious, go this one and try to sell the balance of the funds to the case to cover as a legacy project. We can look at that, because 10,000 buys you the lacquer.
well, for
Cheaper with tin roof than they have that.
Yeah.
9,000,
Yep.
14 by 34. I mean, there's options out there.
Yeah, and we can get, like I said, because that doesn't get us the base, but
Yeah.
under here, it'd be nice if we be interpaving, but interlock stuff. But concrete pad, asphalt, or worst case scenario, we leave it on crusher dust, and for a future upgrade.
I think we learned a lesson with the last one. I understand maybe the base wasn't prepared properly, but it's better to have one that's crusher dust and still usable than something that's not usable.
Yeah,
in,
so, and
15 years.
and hopefully it'll become reusable once we do it. Again, there's limited benches here, but, because this is for seniors, if the cases goes for the shelter, we can still use the benches from here to put at the pickleball court, which we will be putting the paint on soon. So that was, an update on that grant, and I don't know if you wanna discuss which is our priority. Better shelter, or that 14,000, try to sell the balance to,
I'm missing what the 14,000.
no, not 9,000?
Oh yeah, that was 9,000 for the shelter. Whether one is sufficient, I mean, it's better than what it is right now, and no, just because I know before you mentioned 14,000 a couple times as well. I don't know if that's in reference to a different.
Higher.
Okay. Cause there's also the leftover balance from the splash pad, which was meant for
Yeah, so we have
accessibility in that area.
$11,400 and some dollars, and before the splash pad, it's all gravel, and the kids go barefoot on that and drag the rocks onto the splash pad. It was, like, the crusher dust is accessible, but the brick has to sweep, because I don't think it's pleasant to step on a rock barefoot on the splash pad. I think hopefully they all wear swim shoes, but
How much the pad for the pickleball court? How much was that? That was in 15,000. I mean, if we take advantage of a possible tender coming out at one point this for the summer, possibly.
Yeah,
we
well-
could,
That was with work in kind too, though, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
which
prep in
we
the
could do
basement.
for prep on the.
But if you have, say, likes of Pioneer or whatever company that's building here, they have the pavers here, they have the truck, it could, well timing, so we can delay it a bit.
I think that whole side realistically should probably be done there, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's not, probably not within the budget for the municipality at this moment, but,
Okay, so obviously
Yeah.
we're remaining within the budget. So again, maybe no
Yeah.
decisions required, but if we know what to push the case for.
well, yeah, for that, I think we can probably utilize the leftover funds from the splash pad. And then the grant, for shelter and walkway, and benches and stuff, like, that's 40,000 that's available there. We can do quite a bit with that.
Mhm.
Like, you know, I personally think we should open it up to, you know, I've talked to people and gotten ideas, but, I don't know if we could put it out there and have like, you know, I know there is, with the lovely strategic plan that we had, they did recommend sort of like a economic, you know, prosperity review and that kind of thing, and like having a review of what is needed within the community in terms of, you know, Parks and Recs type facilities, but,
You can definitely do an open call to see,
Yeah.
whatever date, we can be on site even and call people and
yeah.
walk the park and what's missing in the park, and some will say trees, some will say, a new,
Yeah,
park.
or we can do that, or we keep it as simple as having a Facebook post with a survey or something.
Even better,
Yeah, and,
simple.
yeah. Councilor Chance, I don't know, you got something to add to that, or?
Well, it's kind of, it's almost like it's hard to decide what's best for everyone, right? So,
Yeah.
it's not a lot of money we're playing with, so I think something simple and small, like providing shelter isn't a bad idea. I don't know how far, like, speaking of not getting gravel and stones on the splash pad, I know something simple like having like a boot brush style thing there and just have a sign that says, please sweep off your feet before you get on, or, you know,
Yeah,
the
for
intent
your-
is there,
The
but
problem is at 4, 5, and 6 years old and running around.
I understand, but I'm thinking the other side of it too, like, oh, my kid stepped on a rock on your splash pad, let's put his foot open, well, no, there's a brush there that says, brush off your feet before you use, so, I'm just,
Yeah, no,
food for thought,
but even if we do one like 4 foot or 8 foot, that because we actually, the public works already prepared the pad,
Yeah,
and we were just looking for the concrete, and then, just ran out of time, I guess, trying to find some, because the prices were coming crazy for the concrete.
yes.
And
wasn't it at one point part of the contract for, who was it that did the entrances?
Bruno.
At
Yeah,
the
Bruno.
hall? I thought it was originally part of that
No,
contract that you.
no, that was done prior to that.
Okay,
Yeah, and then I did talk to Bruno, and it was bad timing, it was like, he was building his house back then.
okay,
Can't remember why. Anyways, we still have time to spend it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the prices have increased. It's trying to get the right contractor, and maybe we'll ask the new one if he does concrete too.
yeah, if we wanna go for concrete in front of the splash pad, or, that would
Or
not wait for
a
paper.
rubber mat too, I'm thinking,
Well,
Just with the.
Oh,
the turf.
it has to be permanent though.
yeah,
And we can't put like we can't put a bench if it's not bolted to the concrete.
Nobody can steal it.
yeah, but, You say rubber, I'm thinking of the playground, like the
Oh,
matting.
yeah.
Yeah, that could be a good.
And that
path for the
would
entrance.
qualify.
Yeah.
I thought you said this had to be related to seniors too, though.
No,
that's for
the
splash
splash
pad.
pad,
Okay.
the splash pad is not for the seniors.
Yeah, they could try it.
Why not?
Which
Um,
are accessible.
Yeah, so I think we can come back with a few options for that, for the entrance to the splash pad, and then that'll use up the rest of those funds. If there's a simple way of, adding, I think that rubber matting is something that's, pretty good. It's very, like it allows the moisture, like the water through and everything, and.
The one thing that sucks is when they go plow in the winter time, if they don't know where the rubber mat starts or ends. So,
Yeah. We'll just have to confirm if
That's
that
the only thing.
applies to the ground as permanent.
How was it anchored to the ground?
Yeah.
They have to secure it some way. I've seen it done a little bit in like playgrounds, but I don't know, it stays like,
So we can.
malleable, yeah.
But that's a great idea, though, that's what we're trying to look for.
Yeah,
And we can actually use crusher dust and we can expand the path.
yeah.
Maybe the path takes a long way to get to the splash pad and use it to like from
Get to the-
from the shelter.
The shelter.
To the gazebo and then the rubber pad before and that made me more sense in terms of, because like Rick, I should say that Rick and Dean are great in the morning, they do their check, they walk around for broken glass and often they just, it's not that bad because crusher dust is fairly compact, but like,
You get some.
you have to remove it because I wouldn't want to step on one. So, okay, and the other one, which was probably more of the interest, because we can actually do something, is with the summer student, that was, we were successful in 8 weeks for programming. 8 weeks, and they can only start the first week of July, which, may leave that we have to plan maybe ahead of time, or the programming will start the second or third week of July, which, you know what I mean? It's, if we know what we're going for, maybe some stuff can be done ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just like, even if it's the advertising, coming the week of, July 3rd and 4th, soccer, or whatever council is interested in. There's also the potential of day camps. That was the original thing they did. You were in some of them,
Yeah.
so.
Wasn't all of them, I think. But.
Yeah, probably. I think that's a great thing. I think we should probably play to the strengths of the community and try to see who they could work with in terms of volunteers. Because, I mean, let's face it, a summer student, whoever's going to be applying for this isn't going to be very highly qualified, or somebody who's going to be geared at telling people how to play a game or something. I like the idea of, getting pickleball started or something like that. That's a cool way of going about it, but are they going to know how to play pickleball? Yeah, so I think, that programming is great. We could maybe see if there's some groups like UNIV or somebody that we could team up with, and because pairing up, we'd have to pair them with somebody as well, right?
So currently, I know the Lions are interested in some sort of summer camp. So I know it was approached today, but like summer camp, I was reading up on the rules. If you're unlicensed, for like us, the programming can't last more than 3 hours.
Yeah.
Per day. So you can't have a kid there for 4 or 5 hours. If you're licensed, you can-
unsupervised.
yeah, unsupervised. If there's a parent, he can be there 8 hours.
When
Yeah.
did that change?
Well, apparently there's rules. Yeah, you can't dump them off. So if you're licensed, again, the rules here says up to 3 hours per day, as long as the kids are 4 and up. And then if you're licensed, then you have to meet some criteria, and then you can actually run like a full day program. I don't think we're gonna go the license route, we're not enough. And as of yet, we have posted, Tammy has posted the positions. We only have one application for the public works. So, if you know any, young kids that want to work or would be good for this position, please do encourage them, to submit their applications. So,
Age 15 and up. Has to be
Mhm.
15, I think it is.
Yeah.
15 to 30, I think.
15 to 30?
Yeah.
Oh, college and university students.
Long term.
Yeah.
University students.
yeah, the older they are. So anyways, if the committee members can think of, again, it's, you still have some time,
Yeah.
but thinking it's 8 weeks away, then it's 4 weeks and then we're there. And then we start off with, what are we doing? First week is figuring out what you're gonna do next week, so we lose the first week of July. But if we know what we wanna concentrate on, if it's all hockey, soccer, t-ball, and leave it at that, make it simple? Or do we run an arts class where kids go and draw for 3
Do
hours?
we know if Mark State Warren is doing their soccer program again this year?
I haven't heard.
It's been posted on Facebook, and I was considering that we should reach out to them and see how they've run their programming in the past.
Mark State Warren? They only did it last year because we gave up.
Yeah.
We were always the soccer program down. And then, when we didn't, it wasn't done last year, Mark State Warren picked it up.
I think soccer,
Libraries.
baseball is what they're running.
Yeah, and then we used to do that before.
Yeah, it's nice having 100 kids, but you can still do it with 20 or 40 kids.
Yeah.
And apparently 80 plus 55 is the number of kids we have.
135? Oh, wow. That's how many, eh? Oh, my mom ran that baseball program when I was a kid here, and, that was, she wasn't a baseball player or anything, so people need to, remember that you don't have to be an expert, a subject matter expert, just, volunteer's a volunteer, and it's for the kids getting out and doing something, so.
So I don't know if you want to specify or advance it, do the Facebook polling, and then, what would you wanna see for your kids this summer? In July, in August, do you wanna see a modified, soccer program? Learn to play baseball, learn to play tic-tac-toe?
I'm just, I'm just thinking, the summer student is gonna have to be supervised, right? Like, it's a supervised position, so it's gonna be during the day.
Depending on the age of the summer student, because if it's an adult summer student, or over 16 or over 18,
There's a little bit more leeway.
flexibility.
Okay.
Because if you do a soccer program from 4 to 6 or 4 to 7, you would need some other
Yeah.
supervision.
Yeah, that's just my concern, I mean, it's not, I'm sure some would be willing to, accommodate and, maybe shift their schedule throughout the day, but, we have to kinda
Yeah, and if you
understand,
wanna keep.
not everybody wants to do that.
But you keep it on the day program in July.
Yeah.
There's nothing preventing to do a soccer program when it's 35 degrees out, no, yeah.
Yeah, the,
Or maybe
well,
just water games at the splash pad park.
yeah.
I guess still do soccer inside in the arena for kids.
Yeah.
You can take advantage of the arena.
It's cool in there, I remember
I definitely
at the summer camps when we were young, we used to open
Yeah.
in the arena all
tip,
summer.
well, like mini golf,
Yeah,
mini putt.
the mini putt,
Yeah.
we played hockey, we played basketball, we played whatever.
Still there.
I think that definitely could be a good case of,
And even if it's only 3 hours, to be honest with you, I know, there are parents that aren't fortunate enough or don't keep their kids in daycare throughout the summer, so, 3-hour break in a day is still something, or 2-hour break.
Yeah, for that refreshment.
yeah, it doesn't have to be, like,
Yeah.
organized, like super organized
No,
sports, yeah.
Pickup is always the best.
Yeah.
You just gotta watch the age groups. But the arena floor is so nice, split it in 2. Above 9 go there, below 9 go
Yeah,
there.
Well,
it
it's
doesn't
in-
even have to be like a sport, or it could just be,
Yeah,
anything.
multi-sport,
you know.
put 3 sports on the ice, on the rink and.
Well, you-
Bag of sugar and then go.
Play the old school games or whatever, like.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, yeah.
I just want to point out that we did not receive funding for Parks and Rec students, so we only have Dean all
Yeah.
summer to take care of all outside facilities. So if you're talking about
Shifting
having
his hours?
shifting his hours
Probably
to
not a bad
accommodate
idea.
for evenings, then have nobody to maintain
So it
Yeah.
might be better.
anything.
You might not have it.
Just to
No, thanks, yeah,
point it
that's
out,
good.
normally we get Parks and Rec students, but we didn't get any this year. We only got the,
One
programming
public
and
works.
one public works.
And not till we get two public.
We
We
got
got
two
two
public
members?
works, and we
Okay.
have one resume so far.
Oh, okay, okay.
Sorry.
I got
two.
it.
I know in the past too, like after, later in life, UNIV would, partner with us, I think, for their summer camp also. 'Cause I worked at UNIV one summer as a camp supervisor, whatever, and there was 3 of us working there.
And I could also bring in Joanne to see what,
Because she's a
UD has
good
lined up.
asset to lean on for info.
And maybe.
Well, we can bring up, we have a summer student that'll be available and like that can be used, sent to,
Not for Park and Rec. We don't have any.
no, not for Park and Rec,
For the.
for the programming.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah, and they'll,
Yeah,
yeah,
cause I remember like I worked there, Joey and I worked there and Stephanie.
I worked there when,
McKnight.
well, two, I think, yeah.
You and Steph were, well, Lear, I worked there, you and Steph were doing the public work stuff, but
all those
Corey
things.
was at the library, there was a lot of jobs for kids back then.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that probably takes care of the summer student,
Yeah, see if.
we'll
see
have
if
those
you can-
So
CV and.
at least we have a better understanding where we're going to do, so that might be easier to do maybe a Facebook, we can talk further on what the questions to ask
Yep.
on a little survey. And that could form part of the first week, and there's really very little training.
Yeah,
So I know the first few days will be up to the health and safety and stuff like that, but second week of July would be a nice start to, have
Yeah.
activities during the day where come out and we're going to have, inline, or floor hockey in the morning, and then different group of kids, different 3 hours in the afternoon.
I think,
Well, you could-
emergency,
If there's a break in between, it could be the same kid possibly, but lunch break, your parents come for lunch and then, you have a movie in the afternoon or something, I don't know. Any kind of programming will help us, so any
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
anything, even, there are kids that are still gonna be in daycare and stuff, or other people that are at camp all summer or whatever, but, for the people that are around and could use that break, I think, for parents
And
and
we-
the kids to have that social that maybe they wouldn't be
Yeah.
having otherwise, I think it'd be good
And,
to have a program.
Other legislation, from my current research, there's no limit, but everyone suggests that we keep the same limit number of kids available. So, one student, see, from 4 to 5, they recommend no more than 10 children. 6 to 8, no more than 12, and 9 to 12, no more than 15. So if there's a 40-year-old in the group, then it limits basically the group to a size of 10. So that might be nice if you do 2 separate, and then you can incorporate different sports, because a 4-year-old may not want to play. Or you can say the morning run is for all kids underneath, under the age of 9, or I don't know where the break is for the inline.
And again,
For one
that's
worker,
unsupervised.
saying you're allowed to have 15 kids that, they're more qualified than daycare workers.
Well, apparently there,
Under
because
3
it's a
hours.
recreation, learning and skills,
It's looser.
it's looser wording, but they all suggest, like, not to overload. If you have a 16-year-old there and you give them 9 to 12-year-olds, you're bound to be looking for another person the next day. So anyway, and then if we do it like blocks of 3, that may make more sense and more activities for kids.
You did like 3 hours for one age group, 3 for another, 3 for another kind of thing.
Yeah. And if we go, and we'll suggest for that on the Facebook post. Okay, so we'll move on with that, and then I'll reach out, when I talk to Savannah's availability. I know you do work a lot, but you're around some of the time.
May is a little spotty. The week of, the week of the 12th to the 16th, I'm here that week, so in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Nothing next week?
Maybe the end of the week, like Thursday, Friday possibly. Cause I'm leaving Monday to go to Detour, so.
Because looking at, if we push for a legacy project, like, I'm gonna ask for a bit more than,
Yeah,
we ask for more and get less,
well, and
because this is nice.
Well, how much was that one though? That was.
Well, the companies
There's a
are Wolf,
kitchen in there, isn't
Wolf, yeah, the Wolf Timber, they were saying, just an email, depending on what size, varies from 30 to 60.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, if you put a pizza in there, I'm sure you get used.
We have one.
But it can't be propane, though, it has to be wood fire.
No, that is wood fire.
Oh,
The one at the school.
That is, oh no, that's a storage,
That's
sorry.
it. Oh, that might, it's an oven or
Well,
something
yeah,
on top.
wood fire, should be,
Yeah,
could be propane too, but,
yeah.
yeah,
I think if we're to keep it, if we were to include any of the programming stuff in the survey, I'd almost wanna keep that,
separate.
from the,
Yeah.
parks, stuff there, just to, keep it more focused on the parks.
Because no matter what, we all know that, it's not, every summer it's a thing, everyone says when they're doing the splash pad, it'd be nice to have shade for
Yeah.
people with the younger kids, like babies or whatever, the older people are watching their
Seniors,
kids.
it's for seniors.
Oh, the seniors that are watching their grandkids play
Yes,
splash
for
pad.
sure.
Looking at the shelters too, trying to think, the area that it's in, like if you were to face it, south to north, you'd have a little bit, well, I don't wanna say better shade, but then if you, cause in the evening,
Yeah, east to west, if you're peak, if you're going at.
yeah, it depends on how it's facing, but
So
that's later on in the design stuff
So
there. but-
maybe the first step is just putting some crude eggs out there, and
Yeah.
then you, at your free time, you go out and maybe look at the layout. Because I'm thinking we can't touch that ground before June at all.
Do we
Because
need storage in that area for anything?
Do we need storage?
Yeah, do they have to haul stuff around? I just,
everything is stored under the last bleacher in the arena. Like the soccer stuff, everything is in
I
that
was
last.
saying, like, if the park is gonna move there and everything, is it possible that there would be storage needed there in the future? Cause I'm not opposed to this, but if you did something with, again, you purchase one C-can, and off the C-can, you build, that's your one set of lights, and then you have your structure off of it. You have a 2-for-1 almost, storage space, and then you'll have,
I don't know.
That was nice looking.
Yeah,
well, you can,
you gotta paint it, you put it,
do
you
lots of
clad
stuff,
it,
you know.
you clad it.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
clad
I've
it,
seen
you can do
some,
anything.
it looks like it's somebody.
I
built
just
it
don't
on
know
wood.
if storage would be an issue we're gonna run into there in the near future, but,
Anyways, topics for discussion, moving forward on these, and obviously we need, to have a plan because we can't, first step is digging and location and digging, sorry. Once the base is prepared, then this comes along.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, even if we decide on yours, it's probably just like a week or two delayed to delivery.
I'll send you the link, I'll send you the
Yeah.
link and then.
Because I was looking at the one at Costco, was beautiful at 4,000, we could put 2 of those. And a picnic table in the
Yeah.
center, and then a family could congregate, or, and you put them all accessible. But do you wanna go that route, or something a bit bigger, or because if you have one family underneath here, it may not be big enough, but then again, there's not that many people using
but
it.
if you look at the size of the one that we have close to the tennis court, I go back when it was usable, or.
It was used a lot.
And it was, and, the size seemed to be fitting, and, kids have, go for a birthday party or whatever, gathering at the park during the summer with all their friends from school.
And hopefully
It's
we'll
still
be
a
able
good
to revive
size.
it there.
It's still a good size, so I wouldn't, personally, I don't know if going bigger than that is something that should be,
So maybe the size that,
cause what is that, what's there, like
14.
20 by 30 over there?
I don't think it's even 20.
20, 16 maybe?
Maybe 16, maybe that, yeah.
So. No,
Yeah.
measurement you do, but just, it doesn't have to be massive.
Less semi-annual task setting up the gazebo.
yeah, and the fabric shelters is, the fabrics are,
No.
They were,
Don't even-
yeah.
yeah, anyways, and at 7,000 for those little, just a nod. Okay, so I have enough there that we can move forward, and I'll reach out with a survey, that we can post on, probably on Facebook early next week. and leave it so
Mid
for.
next week.
Huh?
Mid next week? Or no, you're working tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm working tomorrow. I will come up with questions tomorrow that, Tammy will post, or will share, and then we can come back with, and then it'll go online, we'll see the results, and depending there, you may want just to, let's go with this.
Yeah.
Summer camp, I think we have an idea, it's gonna be, mostly in the arena, semi-organized sport. And
Yeah.
then we can share ideas, because if we can maybe, get, the idea rolling, and maybe again, the Facebook post might come out that we want, just somebody who can drop off our kid for 3 hours at the splash pad so we can take a break.
Soccer at the splash pad.
That sounds dangerous.
Not on the
You know,
splash
is
pad.
it one of the rules not running on the?
No running on the splash pad.
Yeah. And that's what I have, like, I just have a few other prices, but it's not, nothing's cheap. Like a picnic table is, $1,500. And bench is like 14, and the prices are crazy, but.
Cause these are all the ones that are able to be secured and.
Yeah, they're metal, they're covered in UV rubberized coating so they don't rust.
Yeah.
And once we get to the park on the west arm, well, then they can survive a bear attack.
Yeah.
That's where, and they could be chained to a tree so somebody can't just,
Walk away with it.
yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so that was the extent on this, council, on this committee members, any other, questions, towards the park?
Yeah, there's a fees, there's fees. And
The fees is the other part, which I hand off. Because I know, I do have a report on, this one, the park, that's why I'm not talking about it. It's on the, main meeting. Because
Sounds
we're-
good. Perfect, thank you. Now moving on to 3.2, fees and charges by law.
Okay, so I know, there was the bylaw attached to the agenda, but that is the incorrect bylaw. I've handed out the correct bylaw that or the latest bylaw, which is 2023-52. So this is the one that we revised to create all the packages, that came in effect January 1st, 2024. And through discussions, through council meetings, there was discussion about maybe revising this, reducing packages or combining stuff, so, just kind of hear from committee to see what you would like staff to bring back to you or to council to see what you guys were thinking, but.
I think one of the things that was discussed was, the cleaning.
Yeah, I think,
Cleaning packages were discussed. I know staff had input on that.
the package for the arena was, right? Yeah, removing without cleaning.
That's right.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that goes without saying for the
Community center.
community center as well. I guess you weren't really here for the fall tournament yet last year.
This will be my first one.
Yeah.
She was the one doing, no.
But I think, Pam or Denny can probably speak about those ones, with the, fun times it is that without the cleaning, it's not really doable without the cleaning either, really, I think, right?
Well, it's not just that, it's just, the people expect the moon as soon as you take a service away or you give one, so. And you give one or you take it away, you expect the moon either which way, so it kinda, we have to protect ourselves, I guess.
I think it'd be like a representation of the municipality as well, so if we have somebody coming in, and we have a standard of what we expect
Mhm.
as clean, and not everybody has that same standard, so.
Yeah.
And then we have a rental after something, and then there's
Yeah.
disappointment because they were expecting that standard.
So.
No, I know all these were based on, calculations, very extensive calculations, for, the cleaning and everything. So we were looking at getting rid of the weekend with cleaning, or without cleaning, sorry. Do we know, or do we remember offhand what it was that was used last summer for the ball tournament?
The
I would have to say it was
alternate,
probably
they did
without-
not use the cleaning.
They used weekend without cleaning,
Correct.
yeah.
They
And then-
had their people go around, however, I believe our crew, Dean and the summer students did have to clean the ball fields in between, they didn't leave it dirty.
Yeah.
And we back charged them.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think I do remember that. I think.
Yeah,
Trying to think,
it's
yeah.
Coming back to council.
Yeah.
Trying to think back now, cause I'm trying to remember what the fees were for the, ball for the community center.
No.
So you would want, it'd be
Well,
premium.
just scroll up, we got the wrong ones there before,
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess, yeah.
right? I'll find it for you.
Community center, weekend, 884.
Yeah, so this one didn't have the
1,000.
cleaning on it. So the weekend was $1,000 on the old one from February 2023. And then we went to.
You're talking about the ice pad?
No,
the
I mean,
community
this was
center, the community center for the weekend.
Yeah, the community center is quite a bit more detail.
Yeah. But the old breakdown was $1,000 for the weekend.
Yeah,
And now we're 904, but that was without, because we were adding to that, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so 904, the kitchen, the cleaning used to be included. There was a table setup and stuff that really I think that we needed to add into there instead of, I know we removed the cleaning, we had an option for with or without cleaning. I think the table setup is where, when this came up last time, it was an issue because the amount of time we were spending to actually set up and tear it down for the events. And we went into that and we added the whole cable, it's gonna be more, but the cost savings, we could do the cleaning, no cleaning. And I'm pretty sure that's where we went.
well, and I know the bathroom, the table has come up quite a bit about
Mhm.
safety and stuff like that, about whether or not we should be taking them up and down. Whether they take it upon themselves to take it up and down is one thing, if they're not paying for it. I don't know, I like the idea of it, it was just, I don't know, it wasn't very well received by anybody. I know there hasn't been that many events, since we've done it, so it's not like there's been a whole lot of, different feedback from people on that, but, yeah, I'm just, cause we have the bylaw and then we have what's actually used as the rentee, to sign off on a lot of this stuff in it. I think that sheet also, it's worked off of this one kinda, right? Like,
Correct.
yeah, well, alright, so, we'll start from the top. We had discussed the 15%, discount for the weekend rentals for the qualifying organizations. So initially it was 20, but then we the last council meeting was brought down to 15 as what was generally. Well, right now it's 10. Yeah. For weekend rentals only. So the other stuff, like the full weekend.
For all facilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you say starting at the top, are you talking about starting at the top of this bylaw, or?
I'm just, sorry, back to the arena.
arena.
Yeah, back to the arena.
Okay.
And then we're gonna get rid of the weekend without cleaning for the arena.
Correct.
That one's out. As far as wording went, there was a few that I was always getting asked about, like Shinny, why does it say not organized sport? And I know it's like, it's not sure, like, it's not like, well, no, was it in there for insurance purposes, or?
I
People
think
would ask.
shinny is because you can't come with your buddies, with 10 of your buddies and say, we're the only 10 people allowed to play. It's not organized as in, anybody can come.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
instead of you guys, and I hate to say you guys, but instead of Bob coming and renting the ice for an hour and only paying $55 instead of the $105, and having the ice for 10 people and not
Just
a
kinda
lot of
let
other
them know
people.
that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the shinny is, if you're paying for shinny, anybody can come. If I wanna come in and ruin your game, if you're not paying for that ice, that's allowed.
Yeah. And then there wasn't a pass for Shinny, but I don't know if that's something we should look at, just cause I know there's a pass for public skating. We could look at that. Councilor Chelsea,
Well, the pass, so if you wanna base it off that, the public skating pass was $25, I believe. people was for the family pass?
No, 20.
20?
Yeah.
So you're going, 20 times, so the Shinny pass would have to be $100.
Yeah.
But are there equal amounts of?
That would mean
Shinny
20 ice times.
as public skating? 20 ice times for $100 is cheap. It is very cheap.
Yeah. But at the end of the day,
You need to have our minimum rental for the, sorry, again, just for an hour, $120 generated off that, so. If you're going at $5 a head for $120, you would need, 12 people to participate
yeah,
for it to be cost effective.
So last year,
at the Shinny alone.
yeah, last year we did have the men's league that rented ice.
Yeah,
This year they did not rent ice and just, I believe, just went through the shinny.
yeah,
So we are losing quite a bit of money because 10 guys at $5 is $50, whereas they were paying 105 before.
yeah,
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, I still think Shinny is one of those things that's nice. I know they ran it a lot more often this year than the past. I've seen it on this, I didn't get to participate, I didn't put my gear on once this year.
and they got scared by the insurance cost, cause they were told to get, they had the insurance and
Mhm.
whoever they got a quote from was quite, exorbitant. Yeah,
It's tough.
we can leave that on as is.
It's just
That's-
tough because, you know, the municipality is not gonna take on organizing a league or anything.
No,
like
no.
this for baseball or anything. It
Yeah.
would be nice to be able to do something like that, it'd be good for the arena, it'd be good for the community members, but, I don't know, I just think that the year pass is shitty. Again, if there's 20 ice times,
Yeah,
it's not really, worth it for us.
no, we can leave that as is, we don't wanna.
So
when it comes to
no
kitchen-
shinny pass?
No shinny pass, no.
Well, does it make sense financially, you think? Like, to me, it,
I don't know how many, I don't know if it's the same guys that come. I know that we offered shinny quite a bit through the year, anytime there was a public skating, I think we put a shinny before or after it.
They're pretty equal for hours during the week.
So
Yeah,
and I don't know how
and-
many people participated in
but
it.
the pass though for skating is a family pass. So for, at that price, at the $20 for the season or at 20.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So if you did a family pass for Shinny, sorry, again, if we're staying on the same playing field, you know, when you have a family of 3, there's $15 usually, it's, you know, at times 20 ice
Yeah.
times, I just think it's,
Yeah, leave it as is.
What was the volume of, public safety? Do you know
it's
that?
good on Boxing Day.
In the last report that we gave for Parks and Rec, it had the breakdown, and I think it was like 45 kids, for that 3-month period, because our sales were only $40-something, and it's $1.88 a
It
round.
it was, but some of them had already purchased the
Family
family
pass.
pass,
Yeah,
so they were
because I went
off that.
with my kids alone, I must have went at least a dozen times.
Yeah.
So,
And
So
So,
that
and
would-
then the shinny,
that would be 24 kids. technically.
in there, you would have, your sales and divided by the $4 and something cents that is, cause it's 5 or 4
It's $5 a ton.
with tax, but in
We don't
there it would
cover
only
that.
have the 442. So take that divided by 442 and that'll give you how many
For shinny,
shinny
yeah.
that we had, for that 3-month period. And I think it averaged about 5 people
Yeah, cause some there
at the
weren't
time,
any.
but it could have been, nobody
But-
showed up once and 10 showed
I
up.
know we were trying to keep the ice surface open and like more usable, but sometimes when you offer it, and you make it too convenient or too easy to do, people will make less sacrifice to attend the ice time, you know what I mean, like it.
Well, I know the one, there was on Tuesdays, it was at 5, there was one at 5, book skating, which was
Well, I
really well
know,
used.
that the Turbos last year requested shinny before their practice so that the kids could get more ice time, and that was very successful. I don't know if that happened this year.
Oh, okay. I know that there was the public skating on Tuesdays before, and there was always
Yeah,
be kids on there.
and then I know we wanted to do like a shinny 40 over so that you didn't have children or you could do it, but then the subject of, ageism came up,
Yeah,
so then we had to squash that. That
It was
weekend.
still, because it was later in the evening and it was held on Wednesday, it ended up being
The
a
guys
lot,
noticed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the kids were at home.
yeah,
Normally, you can only do groups, the vulnerable groups like children, seniors,
Trying to find your.
or,
No.
or special needs.
yeah.
But
Not
anyways,
40 over.
Yeah, 40 over, it's very difficult.
Because I guess, you know, you don't wanna play with 20-year-olds that like skate circles around you or even younger,
Well,
than you, but.
you could say, instead of calling it 40 and over, you could call it seniors, and just not the ages and accept younger, almost seniors. Well, I'm just saying, like, if that's how you wanna, if that's how they wanna, there's other ways around that. They'd call it a senior shinny, but all are welcome, in bracket, you know, just, if you wanna do that one, once a week.
For these
that-
slower players.
Well, no, it's just, if people aren't wanting to participate because they feel that, the age group isn't accept. I remember there's a gentleman that lived right up here, he used to come and play shinny with us, and he was well into his 60s, and he had, you know, he was playing, there was only one shinny, so he played with us, and I gave the Brown boys 10 years ago, and he was fantastic as a gentleman, so I love it, I just love it, so, depends on the people, I guess.
So shinny for Q1 was $500, January to March 30th.
That's not
No.
participants.
Divided by the number of events. Then you get the number, you were looking at between a
Yeah.
5 and minimum. So
That's-
I don't know how many events though.
No, I don't have the hours here, this is just one thing spreadsheet.
Probably a 3 week, probably, I think, shinny at least,
Yeah,
something like that, so.
So you're 12,
And your
24,
quarters.
in 4, 8, 12, there'd be 12.
But that would be easy to get the numbers, so.
16.
yeah, it's in the quarterly report, I just
It'd
can't
be
access it.
about three people per.
Yeah, but
Which I
About
don't
3
think
people.
what it was, because you got to
Some
play
had
hockey.
0 and some had 12,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I mean, like, when you have, sometimes, maybe we gotta see which ones are not getting at least, like, I don't know, at least, 3-4 people out.
like who we're missing?
What ice times aren't getting used, and then
Yeah.
cut that ice time, you know, like, I'm not saying that we're cutting a ton of ice time, but maybe
We could do a
trying
review
to
of it.
change it,
Yeah.
if you're not getting anyone using the ice time, like, on the split shift days, for example.
Extend the
okay?
busy times and.
Yeah, so the
cut
split
back.
shift days that we're doing and again, I don't know how we're getting into the scheduling, but on those split shift days that we're not getting anybody using the arena before 3 o'clock, well, why are we opening before 3 o'clock? Doesn't really make sense.
We
Other
probably didn't have
than-
any ice times before 3, but,
Well,
Other than the school.
yeah,
School's the only
Just the
person that
school,
runs
okay.
during.
yeah, during the day, yeah,
just weekends, I guess, on
further
weekends,
expensive
it's
fee
12 to 2 for the skate, and then,
on the weekends,
yeah, so I don't know if it makes more sense to do it only less hours on the weekends and
It-
change the skating a bit later, or
Yeah.
what, I don't know.
Is all that in, like paper format, like, cause I know they do that pretty good, they document all the numbers of people
The
who.
attendance, yes. it
Yeah,
is.
it's all like a paper copy, or,
It is.
yeah, I'm almost curious, like, I mean, with the different tasks, yeah, I do use ChatGPT quite a bit. It can scan all sorts of documents and like, I don't know if all that information's been like entered in as data yet. But like it can summarize literally everything.
Can do your
Really
job
well.
for you.
Well, if it hasn't been already put in as data, it just, then that way it can really highlight, you know, the ways of looking at, you know,
If you're
which times
volunteering,
work
if you're
best.
volunteering to do that, I guess,
The data's there.
It's in the minutes.
I heard it,
You're looking
it's
for
an
minutes.
minute.
Yeah, if the data's there, the
No,
data's
it's just,
there.
at the end of the day, like,
That is-
efficiency, like, you know, with if instead of working a whole 8-hour shift on a Saturday
Yeah.
or Sunday, you
Alright,
know,
we'll probably discuss that a little more later on, but we can, when we get closer to the ice rink season possibly, we'll get back to the fees bylaw. Now, the weekend cleaning, so we're eliminating the one for the arena with ice rentals, cause it wasn't feasible to do it. With the ice pad, no ice rental, are we gonna,
cleaning.
no, are we looking at possibly removing the without cleaning across the board? Or,
I would say so.
yeah, just from experience with the one, it's enough to say that with the rest, if we're looking at doing that, I don't know if we should explore whether or not we should be, like, I know the weekend with cleaning fee that we had, put on the board was what we had calculated it to be. I just, like, if we look at the weekend without cleaning, that's basically what the price was before we made the initial changes. So like, and I think even these were increased. So the one that's actually in the agenda, the ice pad, no ice weekend, the total is 1,000.
Correct.
And I mean, back in, at that point, there were, like, there would have been maintenance duties to a certain degree. Like here it does say it includes 10 hours.
Well, even our 1 hour rentals, for example, like for
There's cleaning
the all
involved.
upstairs, yeah, there's cleaning involved, but
It's not-
there was never a cleaning option for that 1 hour, rental, right? So like, I know we do have a couple 1 hour rentals or whatever, it's just, how is staff going up there and cleaning after every time we rent it out for an hour? Cause 1 hour of work for staff is worth more than the 1 hour rental, at least by two, if you consider the week package.
Right, so that's, when we did these calculations, this only considered
Labor.
staff time,
Yeah.
and I think a 15% overhead for, arena and 10% for community center. To cover hydro, heat, like
Lower
only
energy.
15%, cause I know that the service delivery review should said that we should have aimed at 30%. 20 to 30, but 30 was like the higher, and they wanted us to aim for 20, and I took half of that, so I went to 15%, so cover at least 15% of our other expenses, and 0 for capital.
Yeah.
So I know that you're talking like our old wages, our old fees are dramatically less than our new fees, but
We had to make
we
the
have to
changes.
increase
Yeah.
it, so I don't know if you're suggesting like offering the cleaning package for the non-cleaning price.
No,
We're
no.
going to lose.
No,
Okay.
I'm talking, like, maybe not meeting it in the middle, but like, I don't know.
I'm honestly of the opinion that we've made good progress in the last couple of years with our cost recovery. We're not at the 20%, but we are stepping towards
Well,
in the right direction, cause I
yeah.
think when we came to council, our cost recovery was like 3 or 5%, and we were up to 12. We're up to 12, we doubled it already, so I think we're doing good, and I don't wanna take away from it.
I think these aren't really gonna be, they're not even really used at the end of the day to begin with, like the ice pad with no ice.
The Lions just used it.
Oh,
for
yeah,
Easter,
yeah.
Event, and I don't know if they're gonna be doing more events like that or
Yeah.
not.
I'm sure they will.
I know that when people were trying to put concerts and stuff like that on, they were needing to use that kind of thing, so
ATV was one of the bigger
Yeah.
users.
I.
And that's I've heard rumblings of that coming back
Yes.
too, there.
And yeah, so, I mean, we could leave it at the current rate that it's there. It's just, yeah. Right, get rid of the without cleaning.
Do you feel that it's that much of a deterrent?
I don't know,
Because
cause
like-
it hasn't been really used that much, right? Like, it's only been used, I think,
It's
so
only
far,
been used by, the
Lions Club
House,
this
right?
time, and then,
Oh, you're talking about the notepad?
yeah,
This
no
time?
pad,
It's
yeah.
only ever been used by the Lions Club since I've been here. But
And
with COVID,
I'm trying to think, they didn't do a full weekend rental.
Canada Day we had it.
No, but it wasn't a
Cross.
weekend rental, it was, oh my god, the other,
growing communities?
yes, they had used the arena, but it was only a daily rental, I think, I don't think it was a weekend.
Yeah, one time they used it for Canada Day, but I think we gave it to them because it was Canada Day. They
Yeah,
were,
yeah.
Doing it for us.
Right, well,
Yeah.
Yeah, we were there, Canada Day the 1 year, but they were hosting it. But
Yeah.
We had, in kinds.
so, alright, so ice pad, yeah, so we can get rid of the weekend without rental thing across, or weekend without cleaning across the board. The only other one that really changes is the community center and the ball field stuff.
Before we move on to community center,
Oh,
we do have an issue with the church. When we originally did
hour
these pricing, yeah, nobody ever really rented the church, the hall
At
for
1
an
hour.
extended period of time, and usually when they did, it was during operating hours.
Yeah.
However, we do have a reoccurring, rental that happens, and and now that we're in the summertime where we don't have a staff member present, we're having to bring somebody over there for 3 hours to, sit. So I would like to raise the price to match the community center, hourly rental, because I think more people, if the costs are the same, they would rather go to the community center, and the community center is a lot easier. We can give them their keys, nobody has to be there to watch, and it's an easier cleanup, cause it's just like,
They're getting a much
In and out.
bigger
they're getting,
facility.
yeah.
But like, I think that just goes to the point of, like, there's been many facility upgrades that have been needed at the arena in terms of making it more self-sufficient.
Mhm.
Like, in the past, we would have just given somebody the keys, but now we're all worried about insurance,
Correct.
liabilities and everything. Somebody's gonna go jump off the pictures. Well, I mean, somebody can jump off the stage at the community center and still get hurt.
Mhm.
So, the big thing about the community center is, you don't have to have staff there for the handicap accessibility either, to run the elevator or.
No, you still would, to run the
There's
lift
no-
stage.
No,
You're just walking in, you don't have to use.
No,
the center.
I know what you're saying, but the lift stage would require somebody trained to.
You know, there's it's just a one-off training, because it's marked on, it doesn't require special training or certification. You go through the steps, how to operate it,
Yeah.
if they are needing it. And with the elevators, the same, is there's we switched, elevator maintenance, we went to Marcy Elevation, which is much cheaper than, Savaria. And it's actually the gentleman that installed the elevators, so he provided us with the legislation and with a, procedure, so they can get trained and use the elevator. The problem is still access to the entire,
Yeah, that side of that, so.
yeah, the arena, and that's where you're confident that the kids won't be going around, somebody won't be walking in the arena while they're having their mass and start, opening doors. I don't, that's why I said, if you're at the hall, somebody walks in, you'll be invited for the prayer session, so they might just leave. Yeah, the arena, it's such a big facility that if somebody walks in, they can leave and lock the doors and lock somebody inside,
But
without nosing.
when you go back, for speaking to that specific rental, you were given the choice between the two back then, and they chose the arena because it was cheaper.
Correct.
Half it, so, do you, at this point here, you think they have enough people that the price change would deter them from hosting here or holding it here? And at the end of the day, I guess that's not the question I should really
It's
be
costing us
asking,
twice
because we're
that
looking
amount.
out for the best interest of the taxpayers, the ratepayers here, so.
I think we're just gonna deter anybody from ever renting the arena at that point, the hall, right? That's,
So that's the upside, like, cause I can't,
I think we need to look at being able to give the key to somebody. Like,
The whole hourly rental thing, there's only, so there's I guess the 55, the meals program.
they're a
but-
community center.
That's-
I know, but that's hourly, right?
It's a
no.
municipal program, so they don't
Yeah.
pay.
and they have
Who else rents hourly?
minor hockey, but there's.
Yeah, if sometimes people throw kids' birthday parties and rent the ice for an hour and they want the upstairs, for a party, or people's
Sounds
birthday
okay.
parties that they have at the hall upstairs, cause the hall in Rinnet is cheaper than the hall at the community center, and maybe it's not a huge gathering and only having 10
Maybe
people in
you
the community
just-
center looks like a sad birthday party.
Maybe instead of changing, if you put it to a minimum of a 2-hour rental or a 3-hour rental.
So we do have
Is
the,
that
not
covers the-
really, because they're already at 2 hours, but because we're, especially now, when the arena staff was there, it wasn't an issue because they were going about their day.
Mhm.
But now we specifically have to pull somebody from their duties to go sit at the arena, and because the arena's not open, there's not really much to do there, right? They're not cleaning after a non-event, so they're sitting there not doing their other job, which is to clean other facilities, specifically right now. So during the summer is when the issue is, and then the issue about giving them free access, I know we talked about locking those doors, but then it prevents access to the elevator, which we cannot do.
Yeah.
So somehow we need to put the elevator access inside the lobby so that you can lock those doors. And then that would allow somebody to just have the keys.
But to your first point, what's the argument for the community center and you staff and the staff present there and available to open it up and do the same thing?
No, because
Or
we have
keep
the key
card?
fobs.
So just the key system,
So you would activate their key saying they have access starting at 10 a.m. on Sunday and it deactivates at 2.
yeah, cause we already talked about that.
Yeah.
The arena, but we haven't gotten there yet.
And you have to somehow figure out the elevator
Mm-hmm.
access issue.
Yeah,
But-
that grant would help too.
They're still out there, unfortunately, and it's not a yes or no.
What are you thinking?
I don't know, I know we're worried about them accessing areas that they're not supposed to. I don't know if it's a term of the contract yet, that if they're accessing the unauthorized areas, that their contract will be revoked.
And it's also the arena, the fact that the door's open, but there's nobody in the lobby, they all go upstairs.
Yeah,
So a random person may walk in.
So
Yeah, but-
ask in the lobby is what you're saying, or?
So like if you're upstairs having your birthday party, you don't know 10 kids came on and they're playing on the ice.
but the facility still has to be locked up by, not the person who's renting the facility, cause they're not
I
gonna
don't
be
know
locked
if
up.
they do a sweep.
Even during those,
During, like
during.
when they're upstairs, cause they leave the doors open.
Yeah.
So that people can come when they arrive. They don't necessarily lock it.
Well, no, they wouldn't
During
lock
the
it,
event.
but that's, I mean, again, that's a little bit more in terms of private event. I mean, you could, it's not gonna stop somebody from coming in, but, well, it should. I mean, you shouldn't have people just randomly going in and looking, but there could easily be signs on the doors that say private event. You know
Yeah,
what I
but in
mean?
the community center, if somebody walks in, you're gonna notice them right
You're gonna
away.
notice them.
Whereas at the arena, if you're upstairs, you're not gonna notice. So you're putting the onus on them to not have other people enter, because they're gonna be essentially responsible for them, because they entered without them knowing, so that's kind of a concern too.
But, so, what's the concern, that they're gonna go into a bathroom and, I don't know, cause at the end of the day, there's cameras, pretty much. in-
Correct.
If
There's
somebody goes
cameras.
in and gets hurt, it's on us
Correct.
at the end of the day.
But it, like I don't know, that's what I'm trying to understand though, is that even if they go into the community center, if somebody that walks in from the public goes in the community center and gets hurt, they're not part of that
It's on us.
function.
But
It's on us.
The only difference
Correct.
is the size, if the function's going on upstairs.
Yeah, I get
you're
it,
open,
I'm
you're
just,
unsupervised, you won't, you'll feel like, you know, nobody.
You're most like, we had it happen at a retirement party that we had at the community center. 2 kids during the party, seeing a bunch of, cars there, walked into the community center and we were like, what are you doing here? And they're like, oh, we walked free Wi-Fi. We're like, I'm sorry, this is a private event, you have to leave. Whereas
Yeah.
if we were upstairs, we would have never known. So that's the difference between the community center, is yes, if they got hurt, we would definitely be ultimately responsible, but they weren't there long enough to get hurt because we were able to deter them from staying. Whereas at the arena, they could potentially be in there the whole time without the renter knowing and kicking them out. So yes, they could get hurt, but the time frame that they're in there to get hurt would probably, well,
what
hopefully
do
be
we
less.
shorten, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just, the arena and the ability to have somebody rent it without having somebody attending is something that's been being discussed for, since we've been in council, and I think it was probably a topic before as well. I think we really need to get that one, get that taken care of, because I think at the end of the day, it's gonna hinder on any.
Well, would you agree that the horses, the buggies they have in the horse right now would not have enough of in the arena, so maybe we should try to move them to community center till at least we figure that out. 'Cause the fob system will make it a lot more.
Well, they're already in the community center, I think, at the moment. Are they at the arena again? I know they were,
Just upstairs to
Yeah,
the arena.
oh, okay, I thought that got.
So during certain conflict events, because they wanted to do a big event alliance, they were moved to the
That's
community
right.
center in lieu of, it was not their fault.
Yeah.
And it was a significant event that was being planned to the community, so we did the sacrifice.
Put the onus on the rentees. I don't know, it's, like, I know we're in a day and age that it's more common to have, municipalities be sought after for, repercussions and stuff like that, or, lawsuits and, all those fun things. But I think we need to mitigate that by finding a way to move forward with being able to allow users of the facility to have access without somebody being in full-time attendance.
Can I ask why you were opposed to just offering the community center as a hall and that being the only hall for rental?
What's that? No, like both can be used as a hall.
Yeah, but if you eliminated one from being a hall, cause you have this big beautiful hall that rarely gets used, and you don't wanna make the pricing match because you
Well-
don't want to lose people from using the hall in the arena, what is it that is keeping you from only, like, not wanting to have at least one hall that's fully operational instead of potentially two that are?
How much bigger is the hall in the arena?
How much bigger is, it's probably
Like-
a lot, but it probably costs less to operate in the hall than it does the arena.
Would cost less to operate
Correct.
in terms of just like
Heating, hydro, because it is a bigger area hall-wise, but in the arena, you're also gonna be heating the entryway, you're gonna have lights in the entryway, you're gonna have lights in
Yeah.
the lobby. Cleaning is gonna be a lot worse because you're now cleaning all the lobby, all the way up the stairs, all the way up the stairs into the hall. So you're gonna have to clean that, especially during like, rainy days or whatever. Whereas in the hall, it's just like one big surface that they got the little scrubber.
Cause other than that, it's only events that they ever rent that out for, really, up top.
Well, the hall, the arena hall is just smaller, so like if you're not having a big event,
Mhm.
like, I mean, it just makes more sense to have the hall upstairs, like the arena hall, I mean, sorry. Like if you're having a couple dozen people for an event, the arena hall is, I mean, a little bit.
You wanna put a divider down the center of the community center, then you already have a door on the side for one entrance, and a door at the front at the other. One can have a bar and the other one can have a kitchen.
No, I don't know.
You can lock them. So, because the example as the church rental, it would be, we would, even if renting at the same price, it would be cheap, it would make more profit at the community center, because just having a person, like, when you're closing up, they have to make sure there's no one in to lock up. They, at the one beginning, we were doing the elevator, but we're doing the training, but opening up, and just monitoring, where the hall is, here's your fall. There's no cost except for the cleaning. Now you have the cleaning plus the staff being required.
Yeah,
The other option is maybe only allow the hall rental during arena season.
Or during hours of operation for the 1 hour rentals.
Well, summer's not, there's no staff in the arena, that's.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I said,
during hours of
Arena
operation.
operation
Yeah,
hours.
at that
So
price.
if
for
they wanna rent
operation.
it during their operations, because they do have the public skating on the Sundays, you could,
With
you
staff
could
is
have,
there all weekend,
you could
so-
do your public skatings there in, 4 months out of the year, I guess, and then.
So you could potentially have two prices for hall rental when during arena season, during operating hours, we could offer this. However, in the off season, it goes to the $65, and hopefully that will persuade people to go to the community center, in non-operating year, times.
Cause I don't think it
and then-
makes sense to have to pay a staff to go there and sit there and do nothing while, just because the facility's being used, right? Cause you're eating away your cleaning costs. Now
Yeah.
you're paying for it again, the labor.
well,
It doesn't make sense from a construction standpoint or a maintenance standpoint, in my opinion. It's wasting an hour.
cause that was
No offense
50
the
to
word man.
65.
Labor hours.
Person
No.
hours?
For
Staff.
You're
Yeah.
wasting
Staff
hours.
hours.
You're wasting tax dollars.
There's a lot of different ways to look at that. Yeah,
I just know, like,
It's
that
been an
never
ongoing
occurred
issue.
to us when we made these prices, because we've never had that before, and they came in, I think, in February, like a month after we passed this. And
And
they're
at the
like,
start, it was kind of like, just for now, because we're stuck, I thought it was.
well, it was just to kind of
See
test
if
it
it
out to
would work.
see, and I don't know how many people actually attend, but it's been over a year, so they must have a pretty good following.
I will say at least 10 to 12 people when I leave the public skating on Sunday are going up, at least. And I'm usually leaving a bit before, cause the kids get cranky before the 2 hours is up.
And I
Well-
know we've offered other facilities, like the school rental, but unfortunately Catholic and Protestant or Baptist don't mix. I even thought about even this area, but I don't know if this area is big enough to have all of their congregates sitting here to try to circumvent having to do that.
I think indeed that the service, the hall is still, there'll still be availability for them to rent if they choose to rent. Like we're not saying, no, this activity can't happen no more, we're not stopping it from happening. The price may be changing a bit, but again, we can't just, we can't play favorites for any one group to.
No.
So.
Can we not just, I mean, I'm just seeing, you know, the community center, we have the two different rates, right? But, I mean, for the time being, unless we wanna keep discussing this further, I think we could, like, that could go up to $15 for the Monday to Friday, 4 PM to 2 AM, and the Saturday, Sunday. Cause it's all the three rates, like, for those three different, but on the, community center, it's increased for the Friday evening and the weekend. So I think, I mean, that'll at least help a little bit offset the cost, and it, like, say, it might entice them to just, it'll be, at that point, it'll be $20 difference an hour. And they might be more, sorry, before tax.
So you want to increase the per hour from 30 to 45 for the arena hall?
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about?
yeah, to keep it in line with the community center. Cause the community center is an extra $15 if you're on the Monday to Friday, 4 PM to 2 AM, and the, Saturday, Sunday. So an extra $15 on either of those days per hour.
So is the point to just make more money, or is it to deter them from,
A little bit of both.
because I don't think $15, because they're still gonna be saving 20.
This is gonna be saving 20 now, this is gonna save $60 if they're really gonna be worried about $60. But I mean, at that point, at $45 an hour, I mean, we're losing less. In a
Right,
sense.
but you're still 3 hour show up time for a staff, which isn't, your $45 isn't a lot.
But they're renting 3 hours of
They're renting two.
2 hours, and it's, the weight factor is like 33 or $35 an hour. So if you're at 3 hours for minimum show up, you're at $103.
Well, he'll do road supervision at the same time.
You can't, he has to stay in the facility.
That's the thing, yes, it's.
Well, I don't know, I think, like, we start with this and
I
then,
think we should bring it to the council meeting and just
Yeah.
tell them where we're at.
yeah,
So just bring suggestions to the council and let them decide
Yeah,
on which way?
exactly, cause
Okay.
at the end of the day, this all needs to come forth to council for approval anyways. But I think the $45 would be a good start at least to,
I don't disagree with when the staff is there, I think that's
we need to explore better
beneficial,
options.
but when staff's not there, just the 3 hour show up time for a staff to go there on a Sunday to sit there and not be able to do anything unless there's some kind of activity. to
There's
bring
always,
with them to-
there could be an activity list of stuff to do, cause there is always little things to be done.
Because if it wasn't for the elevator, then that's part of the grant. We could use the side entrance, direct access to the
Yeah.
hall, no access to the lobby. Unfortunately, the elevator, when we designed
The
it.
only other option is to, again, move the service to the lobby, and I don't wanna be disrespectful and suggest proposing that, cause the layout there isn't, cause if you're just the lobby, then the other doors can all be locked, and then staff would not have to be there, right? So, that's the only, in my opinion, that's the other option to avoid.
Yeah,
Someone still has to unlock the front door and lock the front door.
If they're not accessing, the doors are locked, everything is locked, it's just one room. Again, the simple, if you walk in, you'll be invited to the prayer session.
Yeah, but it just means somebody has to unlock the door, cause there's no
it's
fob,
not key fob.
unless you give.
Yeah, then,
key
because you
to
get
the
24
renter.
access whenever you wanna go.
You change the lock on one of the side doors to a different key, and that one can be for the renters or whatever, but I don't know, there's
You can
all.
have a single fob.
yeah.
The also thing that happens wrong with that is, like you said, you do have church while other events are happening. So if you have church in the middle of the lobby while tournaments there, or big skating's there, like 'cause skating I think happens every Sunday, so
Yeah.
that wouldn't work during the.
It's just the out of season.
Yeah,
outside of business hours.
Okay.
And again, I know they're pretty lenient, and I don't think they care too much about where it is, as long as they get to do it, and,
Okay.
I just don't know if it's disrespectful to offer the lobby as, I don't know,
I don't know, yeah, it's not a very good, venue,
you know,
the lobby
you
to,
have a jock strap hanging beside your head and a
another
trophy
trophy
case.
case.
Sitting on a Catholic pew.
Yeah.
Right, there's that.
Well,
Health
sure,
box?
she was a few, I think, that shouldn't matter.
Okay,
So what
and then-
Things on
I think with the arena hall, the table setup as well, I think we need to discuss that one. I know it was kind of well received by staff, I think at the time, about the table setup. You know, that it's put a little bit more on the renters
Mhm.
to do the setup. But I don't think it really, I don't think it really accomplished anything. To our knowledge at this point, has it ever been used?
It has not been used,
Yeah.
but our staff is also not setting up tables.
Yeah,
Whereas before, staff was setting up tables
staff was setting up tables.
for the same price
For the
as
same
not
price.
setting up tables. So if you, to me, I would recommend that if you are gonna get rid of the tables and just
We
put it in a price, you would be increasing all your prices. And even if they want a table or not, they're paying for that service. Because if you don't, everybody's gonna want tables and chairs set up for them at essentially no cost. I mean, now your staff is having to put extra time, setting up tables and chairs.
Alright,
So that was essentially
Yeah,
why council
I know we
wanted
were-
packages, because if you have a wedding and you want 300 people, it's gonna take a long time for us to set up tables and chairs. So why does a person who doesn't want any tables and chairs have to pay for that extra premium? Because I would have essentially built it into the price. So it would make the base package $100 more expensive, even if they didn't want it. So that's why council had suggested maybe making this package so that you can make it as cheap as possible or as expensive, because if you don't want to set up your own tables and chairs, there's a cost to it. If you don't want to take your wedding decorations down at the end of your wedding, there's a cost to it.
and that includes basically the table, like cleaning, everything, it's all, yeah.
Because at the end, it's not just setting up, it's also taking down. Because if we
Yeah.
set up, at the end of your wedding, you're leaving the tables there, and our guys are removing them also. So it's set up and take down of tables.
I
Whereas
still
if they don't, they have to set up and take down so that our guys aren't spending time after
Can
taking
we
down
just
either.
combine that?
set up in the takedown.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of ways to maybe reduce the over,
Make the
Well,
document smaller.
yeah, just make the, a little bit less daunting and
I
looking
heard
at.
smaller font.
Cause you're right, if they're doing setup, they're likely doing the
Mhm.
takedown, so I think that's pretty simple, just combine the,
So you
the
still
rows.
want a package, but you want a
I-
setup,
I-
takedown package, not a setup package and a takedown package.
Less
Yeah.
options.
I agree with you.
So bringing 6 options down to 3,
yeah,
but you still want it as an option and not in the base price.
yeah, and in each one.
That makes sense.
Or charge $5 per table setup.
Well, you're gonna
And
do
then-
less there, because at five tables, at 30 tables at $5 a piece.
Or you do the
Where
math,
you're gonna be, then
And you set up 15 tables times $2, it's $30.
and then they're gonna say, oh, remember I sent you that third email that said I wanted to add 2 tables, so you owe me $10.
I-
Well,
that would-
in the agreement though, there's a specific spot where it says you want tables set up and how many, because we wanna make sure that we even have as many tables there. If we have to bring some from the arena or vice versa, so it should be written in the document, I want 18 tables. And if we don't deliver 18 tables, then it's on us, it's in writing.
do we include some kind of a layout of the facility with that?
In the, application, when they get to that point where it asks about tables,
Yeah,
a layout should be discussed at that time with the renter, so that we
Yeah.
know what,
what
do
they
they
want,
want it all over, do they want just the perimeter? But since we've implemented this, nobody has paid for the tables.
yeah,
But that's in the checklist when it says, do you want tables, the next question is, what layout do you
And if they
want?
were to leave the tables out, or put them away dirty, I guess we wanna find out if they put them away dirty at the next event.
Correct, and then part of the issue was, especially during like fall tournament, where it gets you know, after the first dance, it gets kind of
Mucky.
grungy in there. In order for us to clean, we had to like push all the tables to the one side, clean that side, wait for it to dry, push all the tables to this side, clean that side, let it dry, and then set them back down. And that's in between, right? So they're doing that at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting ready for 8 AM the next day or 7 AM, whenever they come in. So I can definitely combine that, but we still want it extra.
Yeah, just
Okay.
leave it as extra. I don't disagree with you that like it's to help keep the cost of the overall fee down.
And saves the backs of the workers.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, whether or not, like, if we were to look at it as, so, it's, I guess it doesn't matter if you're setting it up for a weekend or a day. And no matter what, it takes time to set it up, so it's, yeah. Honestly, it sucks to have to pay the $300 for setting up 30 tables on a 2-hour event, but, so, just looking at it that way, right? And then the community center, I don't know if there's, oh, that was the other question.
What if you
So-
just put for the per hour events that we don't offer table setup? Only on the
No,
daily and the week?
I think leave that as is, I think, cause
That's fine.
somebody might ask for it, yeah.
Some people pay for the inconvenience, for
Yeah.
the convenience,
Yeah, even for an hour or so.
if you have money.
I love that.
So kitchen only. Okay, I know there was always, yeah, community center includes kitchen. So, I would get questions with community center one about, say like, bar rental. I forget what we had discussed on that, on if it was add-on or it was just included.
It is an add-on, I believe.
Yeah, it says it right there, bar rental per day, $20.
Yeah,
$22.60 with tax.
I know that.
You mean if it should be included or not in the?
I think it's just, like, I mean, for what it is.
I
we could
think the
probably remove
argument
that
last
line.
time was the equipment in there, like for, cause there's, another fridge being used, a freezer potentially,
It's sitting there anyways. I mean, whether it's on or off, it's not like it's really changing the service life of it. I think just,
So are you asking to get rid of the $20 together, or increase the price to $8.20 and have it included?
well, so weekend, I guess you can, I wanna raise it, I don't wanna just inherently raise it, but technically for a weekend, I guess you would raise it $60. But I don't know, I don't think for what it is, like taking it out, like, I mean, for the $60 or $20 in a day, I don't think it was really benefiting anything. I know it was bringing us more revenue, but I think we're gonna look at other ways of bringing more revenue in that, going forward with this, instead of having, cause we had a substantial increase, right? A year or two ago about now, or I guess we're in 2025, but not quite 2 years.
Yeah.
But I think we need to go to, like other municipalities where they go to a step increase, like, instead of reviewing it on an annual basis of, alright, or every 4 years, oh, we're way behind, let's raise it up a bunch. I think that we need to be going towards like a, like a 1% increase, and preset it, right? So that way budgeting can be done for, leagues and stuff and associations on a long-term basis.
I think before you get to the point of being able to say like, hey, we're gonna slap a cost of living increase on this, you have to get to your point where you're closer to your 20% cost of, or 30% cost. So you find your recipe first, then after you find your recipe, and this is working, we're cost effective, now you can slap on that.
Well-
Let's make it efficient now.
Yeah, 100%. It's just, are we, like right now, we haven't increased in a year.
Technically, we're
per
getting
se.
sugar out of our lemonade, and it's gonna be a little bit more bitter because the prices are coming down, and
Yeah,
we're getting away from.
well, they're not really coming down, we're getting,
Just
what
a
are
little.
we changing right now? The only thing we're getting rid of is bar rental. If anything,
Yeah.
prices are going up because we're getting rid of them without cleaning packages.
So that's my next question. So the weekend rental for community center is $800. That includes nothing. That includes, we come in, it's clean when we come in, And when you hand off the keys on Sunday, we clean up after you, but we expect it to be clean to, like, there's no garbage, there's no nothing, there's no big spills on the floor. And then then the basic mid-event cleaning is an add-on, and then the premium event cleaning is an add-on on top of the $800. So when you're saying get rid of the cleaning packages, am I putting that $550 for premium mid-cleaning on the $800, and the basic rate for a weekend rental is the $1350, and you don't have the option of cleaning?
I would almost go with you include maybe the basic, just cap it at maybe 1,000. So it's bringing it down a bit, but I mean, it's not like anybody's even gotten that package.
Well, we're just gonna have to be very specific of what the basic, at time of rental, what the basic includes.
They're not
doesn't.
attending the event.
No, we need to be very specific, because
Yeah,
getting complaints of people like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, blah, 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 blah. And before coming to us and talking, understanding what they're agreed to in the first place, it's all over Facebook and.
but that's not
you know,
but
we're
that's not
not-
community.
Nobody wants to
center, right?
rent office no more, so.
Yeah,
Although that happened at both.
Yeah. No, you're not
both
wrong.
venues last year.
So
in
that's,
my recollection,
so that's why we were talking about setting a standard level. If our standard level is this, then everybody should be paying that, and we just offer it and don't give them the option to go less, because if they go less, it looks badly on us. So do we offer it? The only option is we come in and clean in between events? Because what was happening is it was being abused. We were offering the premium service, and as in the old one, only 10 hours of janitorial was included for the whole weekend, and we were doing that in half of a night.
yeah,
So that's why we kind of had these big increases, because we knew the time it was taking.
yeah. I think in terms of some of the events, we need to look at some will gain and some will lose. Like, I don't wanna say lose, but like where some organizers are gonna go out of their way and clean it quite extensively, and then other organizers are gonna leave it as is.
Well, just at the end of the day, no matter who's renting it, like someone goes into the washroom and comes out and the washroom's disgusting.
Yeah,
Oh my god, the municipality doesn't clean the washroom. It's never the renter.
it's never the renter, it's,
So it's the
yeah,
municipality, so we're getting all the we don't never get the praise obviously there, but it's just,
cause what was so the community center before weekend was 84, there were 1,000 total. Now technically it's 900 total.
It was 904 before, right?
No, in the agenda,
So it was $884, and what we would be recommending charging for that now is $1350.
yeah,
Because it'd be that 800 plus that 550. That's essentially what that 884 was last year, was we came in every night and cleaned, which is 800 plus the premium
Yeah, which
cleaning
is not
package.
enough.
So it's 1350 instead of 884.
Yeah, and that's, again, this one here from 2013, we revised that, that was the first time it was revised in how long? It had been.
2018 was the last time
So.
and I don't even know if it was touched in 2018,
I
that
don't
was just
think
the
so.
last
I
time.
think it was like I thought it was something like 10 years or
I
something.
thought I had it saved, but.
So yes, a big increase, however, these events have been
Few and far
bigger
between, bigger, yeah.
and require more man hours, and as Councilor Chance was talking about earlier, is people expect more for less lately than they got accustomed to us doing things. And it just slowly crept into us taking it over.
Which at the end of the day, you want people that are gonna be re-renting, you want them to be happy with the service they receive. Even if it, you know what you get what you pay for, kind of like, when it comes to service, we all know that,
Yeah.
and some of us learned that the hard way, and some of us still have to learn it. But it's, I don't know, I don't like seeing it that high, but when you think about it for wedding venues and stuff like that, $500 a day is really ridiculous, for a hall, if it's for rental, if they have tables and vendors in there. I still do think that like community event, like great community event, like when we do Canada Day and such, I think it's one of those times that we can agree again, if that's an on case basis, we go to council for that anyways, so.
So that's essentially what the reasoning behind this was, is because if you're having a wedding, you may rent it for the weekend, but you're not that dirty, so you don't need somebody coming in Friday night and Saturday night when your event's only held on Saturday, so you can get that base package. When you're holding a community event, you're not that dirty, you just have vendor tables, just quick sweeping and a cleaning of the bathrooms for the next day, so maybe you just need the mid one. And then if you have the ball tournaments or the bear rally or those big things where you have a lot of traffic, a lot of dirt, a lot of people drinking, you want the deep clean.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
if you
people aren't
base it off of
enforced, they're not.
attendees or-
They're not taking it.
Cause if you give them the option of, oh, how many people are gonna attend, cause it's gonna change the price, they're gonna say minimum amount every time,
Right.
so it doesn't.
So
Well,
you're penalizing people like the wedding by charging the high rate,
exactly.
even though they don't need that thing, but then you're also, if you offer the low rate, you're losing for the events that we know we do have.
So what if we did, and I know this is kind of, before last time we reviewed it, I remember we were saying that we wanted the big events to be more successful because they're community events, but at the end of the day, they're costing us more. So what if in the breakdown here, you did private rental for the weekend or community rental for the weekend? Like, private rental saying, there's probably there's gonna be less foot traffic through there than if it's a community rental event, so the community one for the cleaning, they have to take the whole package, kind of thing.
How do you distinguish between?
If I'm renting something privately for a wedding versus.
Open
or
to the
you're-
public, close to the public?
Exactly,
Yeah.
private or public event, right? So, but if it's open to the public, you're gonna have more foot traffic there no matter what, no choice but to take the big clean package. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
It does, it does make sense.
I know we were trying to do the opposite last time, and I see why, but I see where we're
Yeah.
going backwards here.
Because most of the events that are run are fundraisers, so the point of council was hopefully allowing them to earn more money by getting their volunteers to do some of the work. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's happening or not.
When
So-
the organization's a whole, it doesn't really look like it would help very much.
So that's why they wanted it, so that they could
Yeah,
have more money go to the fundraising thing, so.
well, maybe that's how we bring it to council for that one, we could, so, I think as far as cleaning goes, for any event, it should be a good,
The minimum.
a minimum standard, but for the weekend, like, and I'm gonna use a basic mid-event cleaning as the baseline, I would think. And then that way if, it's a weekend event that's not, and that for private, sorry, maybe that's the case used for private,
Mhm.
and then for public, it's the premium mid-event cleaning.
Yeah, I guess it's.
But and the premium, the premium one is more of a, like, they're in full attendance at that point, like.
They're not in attendance during the event, it's in between the nights. So, they're obviously, if something goes wrong during the facility, we're there right away, or as soon as possible, they can always call us, like if a toilet blocks up or the stove doesn't work, that's something that we'll take care of right away, but in between, we're doing a deep clean in between every night for the premium package. We're going in and doing a full clean of the toilets, full clean of the floors, the kitchen, and stuff like that.
Well, the bathrooms are done even in the.
Bathrooms are
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
yeah, the bathrooms and kitchen are pretty much essentially the only thing that we're doing, because that's like a health thing.
Yeah,
So we need to make sure that we do that, but we would be, emptying all the garbages, whereas before, we would expect the renters to do that if you're not paying us to do it. We'd sleep and wash the floors in between, so that when you come back the next day, it's you don't have sticky beer marks all over.
Yeah,
you know,
Third
you're-
day after, sorry.
Yeah, you're starting fresh every day. So that was the difference between the two. And then the gnome is like, here's your keys on Friday, we'll see you on Sunday. We're not doing anything in between. Those would be like your weddings.
Yeah, we were pushing to try to be cheaper, so more people would rent, and I think, we gotta turn the page and not have people wanting to rent us because of the cleanliness and the experience they have at the facility. I think that'll get more repeat customers than the person who wants the cheapest thing one time for their event and save money, so that's where I'm at.
And then I'm assuming same thing with the tables, combine them,
Yeah, I like that idea, just tariffs it down to one.
and then get rid of the bar rental and it's just now included in all packages?
Yeah, I think the bar rental is just, it's a room, it's there, it's, yeah.
Again, I was trying to, people want to save money, for those events that organization, they like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
It's
we
just
don't
because it's
need
an
the
extra
kitchen,
room
if
we have
we
to
need the
clean up
kitchen
too.
mediated, or we don't. we
Yeah.
don't, or-
So that was
I
the
mean-
event behind it.
We just ask
Yeah.
ahead of time, are you planning on using the bar? And they say yes or no. They say no, block it. They say yes, leave it unlocked.
Well,
Well, if
Yeah.
if you don't wanna use
I know,
it, then
it's, yeah.
block. Take
It's,
word
yeah.
on it. If it's,
And then garbage cleanup around facility, municipal staff attendant, I think those two can probably be combined.
So the garbage cleanup around the facility, after a lot of events, we have to go around and pick up cigarette butts, beer
Yeah.
cans, bottles and stuff like that. And then the municipal staff attendant is if you want somebody at your event cleaning up garbages as they go, we're doing that kind of stuff. But it's during the event and the other one's kinda after the event.
Okay,
But again, your staff, municipal event is not doing event activities, we're not at the door doing coat check or that, we're just there to make sure the event runs smoothly.
yeah,
And you're not having to empty garbages or clean up spills, you're essentially paying for a janitor to be there at all times.
on call.
well, not on
Oh,
call.
at the ready.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But again, I mean, it's the same rate, like, I
Yeah.
mean, I think the wording, could you maybe fix the wording and just, lose another row that way? Cause they do kind of, I know that they're not exactly the same thing, but they basically mean the same thing. Somebody's gonna be there to clean up or attend to what's going on.
one's more of a punitive,
Well,
and
yeah,
one is
I get
more
it.
of a proactive at the request of the renter, right? The renter's asking, I would like somebody there.
But we don't have a garbage cleanup around facility yet on every other, we have additional staffing.
Correct. Would you like me to put it on the arena?
No. I think additional
Because
staffing,
the same thing happens at the arena also.
well, for janitorial maintenance duties per hour.
Okay, I can add that exact wording
Mhm.
for that, and, if that works.
Yeah, I think just keep it streamlined. Less people asking, well, what's the difference between a municipal staff attendant and well, it's punitive charges. It's when you don't clean up after yourself.
And like, have we ever, in the last 12 months, has the deposit ever been held for due to?
I think only the one, maybe?
Yes,
Yeah,
we back charged for the fall tournament and didn't return their full refund, or their full security deposit.
fields, I mean, the garbage can collection, I think is probably something that's inherently done. The increase from the fields, or per field weekend from the previous one was $35 almost. But I don't know, they're already going around with the tractor or whatever the case is,
The basket?
screening the fields and everything. I think they're generally picking up the garbage as they went anyways, I think, unless.
Depending on how many staff you have.
Yeah,
Staff
When you
isn't
had
supposed to be
to-
there during the event.
no, they're passing that's at night, right?
Yeah.
That they pass that?
So what we do is we reset the fields
Yeah.
and the chalk lines, and then, any garbage that's in the cans, we will dispose of. But they're responsible to pick up all the garbage after, and then,
Yeah.
and to empty the garbages during the day. If it gets full, it's on the organizers to empty the garbage. We will only empty them at night.
Yeah,
So if they need to replace it 10 times,
they need to replace it.
they need to, instead of us going in, because we don't have a staff there during the day.
Yeah,
But they can pay for us to be there to go around and do the garbages at $65 or $55 an hour.
yeah. Well, just cause I'm just trying to say that we got a $32.50 per day garbage can collection fee.
I'm thinking that was actually to pick up the garbage can at the end of the night, because I believe they're responsible to bring all the garbage bags to the community center. There's like one
Yeah,
area.
Which
Yeah,
we
by the-
normally
by
park
the-
the truck, the bigger events
Yeah.
sometimes.
I'm just, like, I think it should be our, I don't wanna say our responsibility, but at night, if we're already going around the ball fields everywhere, resetting the fields, and, I mean, usually, I don't think it's only one staff doing that.
Usually, we have the staff and the Parks and Rec kids, but we don't have any Parks and Rec kids this time,
So
so
it'll
we'll
be
be cheap
interesting.
labor.
Yeah. Even last year, I remember, the staff was a little short when it came to that,
Yeah,
in the evening was, I remember helping the service staff because they were fat.
well, I mean, well, we could raise the whole weekend rate, but I don't know. It's just another thing that's in there that I think we should be doing as we're going around the fields anyways, doing the
Well,
reset
it's
rate.
just, like, if you look at the rate to rent the field at $160, sorry, I got something on my computer.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's 200 with tax
$200 with tax, and that's,
per field.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Per,
175 for a
oh,
weekend is
see,
per field.
the soccer fields, on soccer only, okay.
yeah, well, it's baseball and
So,
fields and soccer.
$200 per field, but you don't, make up women's fields, those count as a field each also, or?
So they,
Five
so they
fields.
they would time 5 times
$5,000.
175.
Yeah.
So we set them Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if it's, per field, then I can see the man hour, the labor hours adding up and those,
Yeah,
it's kinda, if it was a whole complex for $200, I mean, there's no way.
alright, we'll just leave the,
Do we, I know this is kind of not off, but off, do we try to put recycling cans out this year? Because most of the garbage is, I know people don't always sort, but, man, it'd be
It often
nice to-
becomes contaminated and
I know,
we can make the effort,
At
but
least
I'm
you'll
not
have-
saying that it's not gonna end up.
at least you'll have 2 cans there ready for the day. So by the end of the day, maybe there'll be less spillage if we try to recycle. We'll have a second can there.
yeah, I don't know, it would definitely be nice for that, but,
That's so wasteful.
municipal staff, yeah, and again, I think here again, there's in here, there's kind of two different ones. For municipal staff attendant and then additional staffing below it.
Again, it is the same concept. Do you want somebody there cleaning up the
Yeah.
garbage as it happens, or is it after the fact?
Those two are almost like even more similar than the one above it.
I can't remember if we had, I remember we talked about it the first time, there was an argument that was brought up, the difference between having the janitorial and having someone available. I can't remember what it was, I thought it was specific for when they were renting the arena with having to have a staff there present. I think that's when that came in, but the community center and all, it got reiterated into there. Do you remember, because we were talking
Well,
about if you
coastal-
wanted to rent the upstairs at the arena, you had to have a staff present. And the community center, you had to follow, well, not for the janitorial stuff, just to have somebody there. I thought that's where that came in last time, but maybe I'm wrong.
I will double check, but I'm pretty sure the garbage can collection is at the end of the day, we're taking your garbage from the cans and bringing them to the community center. Because we are only there to set the fields. We're
Yeah.
not there to collect garbage. Whereas the municipal staff attendant was, we collect garbage as it's happening. You guys don't have to worry about emptying garbage, we will do it for you, but we're gonna be paid hourly. So if you're there for 10 hours and we're going around, you're paying $650, and the additional staffing was, if you didn't do it and we had to go and do it after the fact, it was a punitive.
So they're not stacking. There's,
No,
Maybe, so I'm not talking about combining garbage can collection with municipal staff or with additional.
okay, cause you just said the one above it, so I thought that's what you, it
Oh.
was like, you said those two were even more
Oh,
similar to the one
which is-
above it.
Yeah, sorry, above,
Okay.
like, in the community center one, like community center
Oh,
one.
okay.
It's like garbage cleanup around facility staff and a municipal staff attendant. Those were like, at least, they were like kinda different, but then in the fields and baseball, municipal staff attendant and additional staffing, those were like even more similar.
Okay.
But
not to
anyway,
be-
just-
Not to be used for event activities, does that not state that they're not to be picking up the garbage?
No, it was meant,
Code check, like
yeah, code check or, you know,
selling tickets for somebody or.
behind the bar or.
You're not just hiring staff to staff your event?
Correct, it was to do municipal work only.
So, and that's all I was saying, is that those two can probably combine into
Okay.
one night as well. The garbage can collection, I think we could maybe just garbage can reset, and then change it to per night, or something, I don't know.
Okay.
That just clarifies it a little bit, cause it was a little bit,
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't.
The expectations, well, we know the expectations were there last year
Correct.
for that, and, yeah, maybe the wording was.
But it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things, it
or
looks
you
bad
put
in
a
municipality
daily-
if
you
we
put a
don't do it,
daily-
right?
So do you want me to get rid of it all and increase the per field? And just include it in there, that at the end of the night, when we reset, we will automatically pick up the garbage can per field, or I don't know how many garbage cans are in per field.
Depends on how many years left. There's
We
probably
expect
usually
you
like
to
two,
throughout the
or
day,
there's
but-
usually like two there, but
Per field?
I think it's two, like on each side of the bleachers. Like in between the bleacher and between the bleacher and the dugout.
Maybe.
So we can just increase the per field rate and include that.
A little, yeah, either include it or like a little, yeah, like a little bit more, like
Or
190,
no. Yeah, well, you're either way going up a little bit, but, labor goes up this year anyway, so it's gonna, we're here. Might as well do it. I was just trying to think of wording again, like.
It all goes back
garbage can
to
collection,
your expectations and the standard.
just for
Yeah.
per day, cause it does say per day there, but you just gotta
Yeah.
specify once per day only, or.
yeah.
Because the 175 is strictly rascaling and line painting. That's what you're paying for, is for us to reset the bases, to rascal the infield and reset the lines. That's all you're paying for.
Add it right into that cost and just specify that there's empty bins once a day kind of thing, end with that. Good.
So combine them and just get rid of that line?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's,
That's
cause
on the weekend
it's,
rental, so.
Yeah.
it's already, I think it's kinda clarified that it's a reset at night, right? It's a reset to back to like, you know,
Well, cause it just.
fresh.
Per day, it doesn't really, that's very big. If I was in agreement, I'd be very happy to sign that.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I would wanna increase the field fee by $90 for the weekend, cause that, like, you're almost doubling, or,
Yeah, but that's
raising it.
that's not per day, not per field.
Yeah,
So you would take that, divide that by 5, and that would be your per day.
'Cause
Oh,
doesn't
I
take
see
long
what
to
you
change
mean.
the garbage,
Yeah,
right?
And then you would add that to your 175.
okay.
It's like
Times
one-
3.
they
Oh,
allowed
okay,
it-
that makes a little bit more sense.
They allowed an hour,
Uh,
we're gonna do it.
So you're not gonna raise it by
five.
32, you're gonna calculate, okay,
So I would take that,
Fifth
divide
of
that
an
by
hour.
5,
Fifth
and
of an
then
hour.
times that by 3 and add it to the
Okay.
175.
I like that a little more.
Yeah, cause I think we guesstimated it'd be like 45 minutes to round up the garbage between them, like,
Yeah.
it's not that much if we're already going to each field. So that's why it's
Okay.
not a full hour's wage.
And then again, like those, like that was clearly a 3250, that was clearly based off of the wage
Salary.
package. I think like those numbers should all just be brought up with the wage package to this, if that makes sense, so
Yeah,
we
so
can stay at our
2%,
cost
yeah.
neutral. If that makes sense to you?
So do you want that in the next one, is that all the fees will go up based on,
Cause if you don't go up that 2% on the
So-
wages now, on those now, cause remember when you're saying it would be nice, it's streamlined and it just goes up with,
Yeah,
if we don't start doing it now,
well,
we're not.
so I think a good way to look at it is more of a hybrid approach, instead of just following strictly like, it's, cause, well, I know here you're going by negotiated, wage packages, so you kind of know it, but, it's best to avoid like, cause that's also kind of based off of CPI, but like previous years of CPI in a sense.
No, that's negotiated through the union, has nothing.
It's negotiated through the union, but they try to negotiate with, you know, they try to use CPI a little bit to their advantage when they can. you know, if we were to stick around the 1 to 1.5%, like I wouldn't wanna see a 2% or 3% increase, annually on the whole thing. Like I think, I know other municipalities have done something similar to that. And it just kinda lays out the groundwork for, you know, instead of, and then it can be revisited after the 4 years are up, and then, hey, how are we looking in terms of comparable to,
But if you're able to show to the people renting, like, hey, the only thing that actually went up is our cost of labor, and not the cost of renting the facility for the facility,
yeah,
I'm sure it's more, either.
So I'm just confused because the costs for facilities are strictly based on
labor.
labor.
Plus-
You know labor is gonna go up 3%, why would you only increase your price by 1.5?
What's it been getting raised before? So before we raised it in 23 or 24, what was it raised the 4 years before that?
Nothing.
I don't think it was raised for 10
That's what I
years.
mean, right? So,
The inflation was flat for about 10 years. at
And that's why
5%.
so many people kicked and screamed when the prices
When
went
the
up,
prices
because
went up.
nobody ever brought it up, but it has to be brought up,
But-
if we're
So-
gonna lose all our facilities.
Correct, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm, in 5 years, when prices have gone up 10% from when we're doing it now, in order to avoid having that big gap, if we know what our increases are,
yeah,
tie the bylaw to those increases.
yeah, I just,
Just
it
because if
can
it
lead
is
to
all-
a
Not
bigger,
the CPI, because I'll tell you right now, the union, the negotiations are, very, very, very rare, I
No, no.
can't say you'll never get CPI.
no, 100%, but it's
It's
like
always
usually
less.
that's split over a certain amount of years too.
Yeah, so
And-
we know, like, in the past contract, it was 3-3-2-2. So if we were setting this bylaw, we would have 4 years of,
3322.
and it would be 3-3-2-2. So that your cost is going up proportionally to actually what it's costing us.
So $30 on $1,000 or 300, or,
Yeah,
and it's just for your labor, right, so we don't go.
yeah,
Don't have to revisit,
Well-
and be like, well,
And if
it's
it's-
taking,
yeah.
so it's taking the same amount of time to do the task as it always has, but we're losing money on it now, it's because our labor hours are.
but that's what I was saying, is you have a 1 to 1.5% increase yearly, and then after 4 years, you then review it and say, okay, well, this year now we now have to go up. Like, we have to review it and repass the bylaw, essentially, to agree to another 1 to 2% increase over the next 4 years
But if
after
your
that.
labor goes up to
Which we might
3,
be part of.
which would be 10, and you go up 1.5, 1.5, which is 6, you're shortfall of 4%, you're losing 4% on your facility.
Well, then you get a 4% increase instead of
And then you do what?
20, like we've done, right? Like on some of these increases from what we were previously, we did very substantial
Yeah, because
increases.
nobody ever
Because they
did
need-
what we're suggesting.
Yeah, yeah, but that's why it's like, have it of a hybrid approach where you know, you do partial increases, and then at the end, maybe you have to do a
But then in 1 year, you might have 2 increases, because your
4%.
Your last year, you
Well-
have your 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and then you're gonna hit with a 4%, because obviously where we're behind.
but not 20.
But we already,
You'll
because
have
it's all
4%.
labor, we know where we're gonna be.
You'll
Yeah,
have 4% plus the next
Okay.
year, so if the next year's 2, you'll have a 6% increase.
yeah,
Cause you'll have to update it to your 5's numbers too.
as opposed to 10 or 20% if you only review it every 5 or 6 years.
I don't wanna review the first 6 years now. Remember earlier when I said, get into our plateau and then make it standard?
Yeah, yeah,
Find out our mixture, our.
And then if you do based on union negotiated raises and it's in the bylaw, people know what their rates are gonna be for the next 4 years, so for our returning events, they would know what the rate is already, so you know
Yeah.
in 3 years you need to increase your rate by whatever, and it's not like, oh, here's a new bylaw, I know you didn't project an extra $100, and we did like we did last time and. it
The only other
affected
thing that would
everybody.
change is if the rate of hydro goes.
effectively, we then wouldn't be able to release this until we know what the next negotiated.
Correct. If you wanted to go that way.
That's what I'm, yeah.
You would keep it what the last rate was until you have a new rate. Because let's face it.
Bring it to the table and.
If you don't have a contract and they're on strike, well, they're not gonna be having their rentals anyway, so they kinda go hand in
We still have
hand.
rentals on strike,
Yeah,
the ball tournament's still there, not,
yes, no.
Yeah. okay. So,
Only a couple things.
The weekend community center, we're gonna offer public and private events. The private event is going to be the 800 plus the 275. Public events are gonna be 800 plus the 550, non-negotiable, non-optional cleaning
Yeah.
packages.
I think we should bring that to the table, see how that goes, and then,
15% discount for qualifying events, combining the tables, so it's set up and take down. And we're going to get rid of the municipal staff and the cleaning
combine.
up and combining into one.
the
Getting rid
15%, sorry, the 15% was, weekend only, right?
Yeah, weekend only.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
And then, getting rid of the garbage can collection and increasing the base price
Yeah.
for the ball fields, combining the janitorial and the municipal staff attendance so far. And then also bringing to the council, increasing the rates year over year based on union,
Something
or
like
some
that.
kind of set rate.
Something.
Yeah,
Something.
I think just that way we don't have to, like, we're somewhat staying ahead of the curve instead of, having a huge increase after a while.
Am I missing anything that we've discussed?
No, I think that's pretty good. Oh, the fitness, center,
Mhm.
we were cutting those rates by half, I think. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. No, I think that was it, unless, staff has, something else, to bring up with the fees
Speaking of
bylaw?
fitness, thinking about fitness third period into my schedule. It's gonna be close. Can't remember if there's anything else that we said we want to bring up under
The fees and
Parks and Recs and fees. I guess that's what's on the agenda, so.
yeah.
So, for the arena, just to make sure I bought everything, we're getting rid of cleaning packages. There's no option without cleaning packages. 15% on weekends only. We got rid of the shinny pass, that's not a discussion. Combining the tables, and going to council with the rental for the arena, adding $15 or looking at off-season, on-season. Lobby-ish,
yeah, for the hall.
increasing price just
Yeah.
for the hall. I think that was the only changes on that one, right?
Yeah. I thought about something else that was, that we wanted to discuss.
There was something.
I just spotted it on the arena one. So the extra days rental.
Yeah.
I know we had, done that to, kind of make it, give people more time before and after events. I think in the effort of making it a little bit more, reasonable, because there's generally always a little bit of leeway in allowing, people in, you know, if there's a facility open or stuff like that. I think we should do it, or we should propose possibly having, well,
Hours kind of thing you're saying would be?
well, I think it should almost be, like, there should be a little bit of leeway in the term of, if you have a
Outside of
weekend event,
operating
if you have a
hours.
one-day event, you have a day before and a day prior to kinda, not to use facility, but for like setup, like, you know, like what's been discussed. If you need more than that, well, then it's additional days.
Like, wasn't there something that we had before it came in conflict? That's why, I thought we moved it because.
If you have other rentals.
Conflict if there's a rental, and
Yeah.
again, you had to
Yeah.
specify the,
Yeah,
they'd be like, oh, well, the day before, day after, oh, but it's already rented, well, now you're not getting the same. Or long weekends, is a long weekend treated the same way, day before, day after, because now if you're calling someone in the day before or after on a long weekend, now you're getting into premium time for the key holder or the staff that has to.
So I'm gonna give you a perfect example.
That's
yeah,
Our upcoming bowling banquet that's happening this weekend requested to bring in and set up on Tuesday for their event on Saturday.
yeah,
So that they bring all their stuff, I guess that's when they're getting all their stuff. We said, sure, but you're paying for extra
Wednesday,
days.
Thursday, Friday.
Because we can no longer rent it out if anybody came and asked. And then we also have an event on that Sunday, so we informed them that you have to be out at 2 AM as per your agreement, because we need time to set up and take down and clean up for our next event. You didn't book that extra day, because
Yeah.
normally
Next
people
time, put it in my bag.
would take that extra day, and that's kind of what we ran into, and that's why we created these packages to be very stringent, because one day events, they paid for the one day, but they would get the whole weekend. And that's what the previous council said, if your wedding's on a Saturday, you get it from Friday to Sunday, but you're only paying for the Saturday. Whereas somebody who's actually using it from Friday to Sunday has to pay the whole thing. And this council said, no. So now you're going back.
But I see an opportunity for changing that, and it's saying that $85 fee.
Well, it's
maybe-
$185.
That was 85 for the arena.
Maybe
85.
it changes per
arena,
facility.
Extra days rental, okay. This is not just for the arena hall, I was thinking the arena hall, maybe I was thinking under. Extra days rental, $75. So if you're using the hall and your extra days rental, I think that if you put the day before, day after, with condition that it's during normal operating hours, for like say a staff was there and it's not conflicting, that we could probably do it for like less.
Well, I just think it's like, as long as it's not conflicting, and that needs to be, I don't know if it needs to be in bold, really stand out. Like you say, if they have an event on the Sunday, and they're renting it only the Saturday night, well, yeah, you need to be out in time for that rental.
Again,
but
if it's a long weekend, like our family hockey tournament, for example, and our
Yeah.
baseball tournament, they used to both always be on a long weekend, now I
Yeah.
understand alternate years or whatever. So the day after the event, which is a Monday, is an overtime day for our staff now.
yeah, but
So now if you have staff expecting to go there, it's a 3-hour show up on overtime. And I don't think that the taxpayer should have to burden that because we're being nice and giving them an extra day. Now you're giving them a day at show up time at premium.
well, the community, but the thing though, it's set up. It's not for event duty, event. What should I say? Event. Like the gathering. It's not for the actual event, right? You're not going to have 300, 400, 500 people running through the facility on those days. It's meant to be. You have your group of people
And their kids.
bringing material.
And their
in.
kids that they can't have someone watch.
Yeah, but like
And
I get
dogs.
it. Yeah, well, I mean
Dogs.
that should be a little. Yeah.
I'm just saying, for me, I feel that there
So-
should be wording in there for a long weekend that they, because I don't wanna eat overtime for,
Well, and that only applies to the arena.
So why just the
The
arena and
community
not the
center
community
too.
center?
No, that's what I'm saying though, is that the community center, you don't need somebody there,
Oh, for
in
the
that
event.
sense, right, or technically. But I mean, at the arena, really, you don't really need,
well, you're supposed to.
you don't really
after-
need somebody there, like, that's the
after
thing,
they
right?
close
It's-
out, so as soon as they stop their rental, the next morning, so say Sunday's their rental, the next morning, you go and have a look at the facility to make sure everything's safe, or do you wait till the Tuesday?
Usually, we have staff working Sundays doing cleaning, and I do think he verifies the following day.
Yeah, and you'll have to do a check, especially if there's another rental the following day.
But if
Because we have
it's a
staff
long
working.
Yeah.
weekend, does he go in on a long weekend and do it?
I haven't come across that.
If there's a rental, it would probably come up a little bit more, like, if it was a long weekend, but not too many of those. But, I don't know, it's just,
Well, I just know for hockey and baseball, we always did it on long weekends before, right?
yeah, but even on a one night rental, having, and that's what I mean, I know it gives them, like, it's giving them access the day before, and, cause otherwise, I mean, I get it, for somebody who's renting it for a wedding, yeah, they have to take everything down by 2. It can be a little bit daunting, but if there is an event the next day, sorry, you do have to take it on by 2, but if there isn't an event booked, you have the ability to, but
I had to do it for my wedding.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
we didn't for yours, though.
No, I don't think we did for mine, no. Won't go there. But I get it, we don't wanna introduce conflicts, and we wanna avoid the conflicts as much as possible, but that's where we say, okay, well, if you only wanna if you don't wanna take down until like so-and-so the next day, you have to pay the extra fee. Like,
Wasn't there something that there's 2 people who wanted to rent for the same weekend, one person wanted for a day and one person for the weekend, was that, think that happened?
is that
I thought
the
there was
church?
I thought there was something that happened
It's
and we
the
were
events
kind
that are
of,
happening this weekend, next weekend.
It's always been the Mother's Day weekend.
yeah, so.
They
that's
wanna
what
do a
the last
Mother's
two-
Day Sunday event.
Bowling Banquet is a
Mm.
Saturday event, but it's a weekend event.
Yeah,
Cause in the old structure, they got the day before and the day after, sometimes they didn't take their booze out till Tuesday,
yeah,
but they paid for one day, and Mother's Day is on the Sunday. And then we changed it to this, if you want the weekend, you have to pay the whole weekend to book it, the whole weekend. They chose to rent the one day, which leaves Sunday open for a rental, and we have a rental now.
That's what I mean, I think, like, I remember there was a reason why we done it like that. to
Yeah,
deter
but
people from.
They could still, where's the one for
But if it said there in writing
Extra
that you
day.
can have it the day before and day after for setup, then that would screw us out of a rental, which is bringing back into our cost recovery for the community.
No, it wouldn't, cause if they haven't paid for the, like, that's what I'm saying is, if.
But if you as an organizer thought you had a day before and a day after
You
to
take
set up,
advantage
and
of
then
it
I
every time.
came a couple days before you and said, oh, by the way, I have a rental, you now have to change your whole schedule, would that not throw potentially you thinking that you had extra time?
I would, no, so.
Whereas if you bought it, you knew
You have to
you had
reserve
extra
it,
time.
yeah, you reserve it.
Cause
That's what I'm saying,
I
you
know we're
reserve
just
it.
a small town of St. Charles, but like in Sudbury and stuff, you want it, you gotta pay for it.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm not saying we don't charge them for it if they wanna reserve it, like to prevent another rental the next day, yeah, they pay for it. But if another rental comes along, tough cookies.
So you're saying to give it to them for free and then if someone rents, too bad for you, but if you wanna make sure.
If you wanted to reserve it, yeah, you should have paid for it. I don't
Do you
know.
want me to bring it to council?
Sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's one of those things, it's like, yes, I know we don't wanna, deter, rentals on the following day or the previous day.
It's fine until it really kicks the organization that's trying to save money and get it the day before for free or whatever, and the day after for free.
Yeah, but
That time that it gets rented, there's gonna be
And there's a difference of if they're, so say, the bowling banquet, for example, well, if they wanna leave their beer in there for
For a
the
week.
following day, or the next few days, does it really impede on Mother's Day?
if you get all, the rest of their booze can get drank on Mother's Day, cause.
Well,
we
that's
have
at their own
access
risk.
to the whole bar because we don't
That's
want
at their
to
own
bar
risk.
because it's not its own rental price no more.
Right?
And it will also delay the cleaning because in and out of the people taking out the booze, so, or the liquor, sorry.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
They
they,
can't
they,
clean the bar, they.
they'd be cleaning it after anyways, right?
And I
But
think, I
if
think
it
it's
stays
not,
2 days, the cleaning is delayed.
it's not good,
In the bar
it's
only.
not good practice to just, if you're a landlord, I'd love for you to be my landlord because I'll move over by next month, as long as nobody rents it.
Once a month.
Well, I'm just, but
Yeah.
when you rent month to month, this facility you rent day to day, so it applies the same.
Yeah.
A free day is a free month.
Yeah, it was just
Same.
meant to be fair and to take out the perceived favoritism of why maybe one organization could have got it,
Yeah.
whether it's legit or not, and then not another one, whether it's legit or not, because the perception is, oh, the bowling maker got it for free, but bowling didn't, or, bowling, but baseball
Hockey,
didn't.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They must not, like, it was to get rid of that perception, everybody's treated fairly, because they don't know that Mother's Day was after bowling, so we weren't allowed to, and there was nothing after baseball, which we were. Like, that
But that's where
perception isn't
the-
there.
And that's where, like, you still leave it in there, like, and it just has to be presented that way, right, where it's, you know, if there's another rental that comes up and you don't wanna, you know,
Guarantee it.
guarantee it, you might lose it, like, you might have
Let
to.
me tell you, I heard somebody that wants the day before and the day after. No. Is that what you're supposed to do when you're selling it?
No, it's just, you know, it just it makes it a little bit more, reasonable and, like, I get it, you know, people, they should be held to the same standard as anybody else. But we're not the city of Toronto or North Bay or Sudbury where, you know, they have, rentals, on a, I wanna say hourly basis and they're booked tight. So it's not like it's gonna affect it at the end of the day, right? Realistically, like,
Do you-
we'll have the odd cases here and there where it,
Since we were talking about two events, essentially,
yeah,
do you want to make prices for those two events?
no, I
Because
don't,
there's like different circumstances for those events that we're kind of making
I don't
different
even wanna do that.
scenarios to accommodate them. If the hockey and baseball need extra time, we can give them the extra time and say you can come in a couple of days and a couple of hours, here's your price. You want all this extra cleaning, you want this kind of service, it's in here, and then the people who are one-offs get to pick and choose what they want.
but it's not even for just those events, so even like a one-day event, if they, that, now they gotta pay for an extra day before and an extra day after, you know,
So there's ways, how can I say this?
that's what I mean.
Like the canteen, for example, the arena is rented, so if they had stuff to bring in and out of the canteen itself, they can do it.
Well, I know, but that's the thing, yeah, but that's for the canteen though, right?
I know it's a bar upstairs, I understand, but.
Yeah, it's not even just for the-
For every, so when that facility's not rented, for example.
Yeah.
So say I wanna have my wedding at the community center and ask permission to go the day before, the day after, okay, cool, yeah, no problem, but I'm not paying for it. So I don't have a contract. If some kids break
You do have a
in
contract though.
for the day before and day after, I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, but it's, that's what I'm saying though, is to include it.
So the
But it's
municipality.
not guaranteed
so
that you
somebody
have
breaks-
access to it.
Somebody breaks in, cause they know I'm having my wedding there, and they know I already brought all my booze there, people break in and steal all my booze out of the municipality, who's liable for that?
Well, it's the same responsibility as if somebody walked in and stole it while you're in there.
Except for the municipality's not getting paid for that day, so they're inheriting all their risk for no reward. That's what I'm getting.
I don't think they're responsible, I don't think we're responsible for
For
any,
BEs.
personal belongings of.
No, but we would be responsible for somebody breaking our door down to go get alcohol. They have to fix the door. I'm just saying.
No, I know what you're getting at
It's still a
there.
risk and
Yeah.
no reward, like it's still.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We're not on the same page, that's fine, but that's why we have
Yeah,
council to bring
yeah.
it to, so.
exactly.
I'll bring it to
We
council.
see it two different ways. I understand.
Yeah,
I always been helpful in like helping people.
Oh, 100%.
but,
yeah.
it's just,
Anything else? I think you said you had two things you seen. Was
No, we thought we had a couple things, but there might have been something else too, but.
I remember when we had the meeting, we said we wanted to bring something else up, and I didn't know if it was for staffing levels or something, but that didn't make it to the agenda. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember if it was something like that,
Yeah.
for a succession plan, or, I think we talked about that a little bit at the one
Yeah.
meeting, but it's
It's
not
not on the agenda, but-
so,
It's been mentioned now though, so.
yes,
But,
but we're.
yeah, we'll
it's on the
leave it
agenda,
at a.
so It was
later
mentioned,
date.
but we're not advancing it.
Yeah.
so.
Okay, I think that's it for this.
Is it
Unless you
something
have-
you want staff to advance at a council meeting or another Parks and Rec committee meeting?
It's not on the agenda here, like, we can't advance business, we're just two councilors, we don't have quorum. Are we allowed to discuss something that wasn't on the agenda? I know Tammy's not here, so that's, we have to leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I think it should be something that we start looking into in terms of that, but yeah, that can be brought up.
We did talk about it, though.
Yeah. All right, anything else? No? All right,
Motion?
I don't think we need a motion to adjourn. It's a committee meeting. Meeting adjourned at 9:17 PM.
Let's see what the.
Okay?